Well, these pictures tell 1,000 stories. The faces of the men who are fighting the final battles of October. Their whole lives, they've been honing these skills, hoping that someday, sometime, it would count in a big game.
Up the middle and Lemke. Close play. Got him! Caught by Glenn. Gets back to first, and he's out!
Want to make your mark? Go ahead. Make it in the World Series.
Pretty well hit. This ball is going to go. Scott Liss, and he corks one into left field. And it's gone!
Minnesota has had its fun, but now the whole scene changes. The show is in Atlanta. And tonight the ringmaster would like to make it the greatest show on earth. We're outdoors tonight, and it's nearly a full moon over this jewel of the South, the capital of Georgia, where the Atlanta Braves are the peach of everybody's eye. Atlanta is a city on the move. 19 of the Fortune 500 companies are headquartered right there. But tonight, whether you are a captain of industry or the captain of your little league team, you don't have Georgia on your mind. It's baseball you're thinking about. And this is where you want to be tonight. Atlanta Fulton County Stadium. And if you're anywhere near this place, this is what you're going to see and hear. So excuse them if they seem a little carried away here, but think about what the good folks down here have been through. Not only has no professional team ever won a championship in Atlanta, the folks right after the All-Star game, all but the hardiest of fans had written this team off as yet another losing season. This exuberance, which has stirred the city, has also sparked controversy among Native Americans across this country. The Braves say they'll address that when this series is over. In the meantime, they've got another problem. A two-game deficit to overcome. Then again, in this most improbable of seasons, maybe they had Minnesota right where they want them, at home. And so tonight, it's Game 3. The Minnesota Twins and the Atlanta Braves here on CBS. And hi again, everybody. I'm Pat O'Brien. Tommy Lasorda will be back with us tomorrow night. Welcome to Game 3 of the 88th World Series. The Minnesota Twins are halfway to the 4 victories they need, but bear in mind some of those historical precedents that make baseball such a wonderful sport to follow. Minnesota has never won a World Series game on the road. The 65 Twins were swept in Los Angeles, and the 87 Twins were swept in St. Louis. The Braves are by no means out of this one. In fact, since the Brooklyn Dodgers came back to beat the Yankees in 1955, 9 of the last 19 teams that have lost the first 2 games have bounced back to win it. And so how big is this game? Here's what some of the players told me down on the field earlier tonight.
I think it's big for the Braves. I think it's a big game for both teams, really, Pat. I shouldn't say that. We're up 2-0, and we're going to be in their park, and they're going to be Tommy Hawkin, and they're going to be ready to play. So we definitely have to be on our P's and Q's and come out and try to get Erickson some runs early, and hopefully he'll hold on from there.
We need to somehow deter that momentum that they have. Also, we need to build our confidence back up. Losing 2 games is tough, but I feel like if we get the win tonight, we'll be sitting pretty good because then we have 2 more games here at home, and I think that'll give us a little boost.
Well, we've got 2 of the brightest young pitching stars in baseball on the mound tonight, Scott Erickson of the Twins and Steve Avery of the Braves. Now, Avery arrived at the stadium earlier tonight. He got out of his van there and walked up to the door. Nerves or what? He went to the wrong door, folks. At any rate, he has matured at the perfect moment. As far as the Braves are concerned, there it is. There's the door. Avery won his last 5 decisions of the regular season and then threw nothing but blanks at the Pirates in the NLCS. His opponent, Scott Erickson, is one of the 2 20-game winners in the American League this year. And because there is no designated hitter in National League parks, Erickson, of course, will bat for the first time since he was in high school out in Cupertino, California. And a while ago, he almost hit one out of this ballpark and told me he'd like to, in fact, do that. Some other lineup changes. The Twins will miss their regular DH, Chili Davis. He hit 29 regular season home runs and a blast in Game 2, but will not start. Here's that Game 2 home run.
Chili Davis launches one. 2-0, Minnesota.
Quite a moment up there, and Scott Erickson's personal catcher, Junior Ortiz, will start in place of Brian Harper, who is clearly superior with his bat. Now, without Davis and Harper, Kent Hrbek will move into the 3rd slot, even with the left-hander Avery pitching the game. Meantime, while Twins fans wait for their hard-hitting outfielders to get their first base hit of this series, the unsung infielders have carried them to a 2-game advantage. And how often have we seen bit players become leading men in the World Series spotlight? And as Shakespeare said, some men have greatness thrust upon them. In baseball lore, the names roll off like a battery of bean counters. Tennis, Doyle, Hatcher, and Hatcher. After games 1 and 2, we can now add to that list such names as Knobloch, Leas, and Gagnon.
Pretty well hit. This ball is going to go.
The pressure is on the big shooters, the big guys, to hit the home runs and drive in the runs, and that helps us to just go up there and just to be easy, free and easy.
I wouldn't say it's luck. It's just a matter of excelling, at the right time, at the right moment, like getting that pitch, and when you get that pitch, hitting it, or if you have a chance to make a great play and making it.
I understand, like, when you look on it from the outside, like I used to do, you're like, wow, you're in the World Series. But once you're on the field, it's the game again, and you're just trying to do whatever you can to win.
Kent Hrbek did what he had to do in that controversial play at first base that everybody is still talking about here in Atlanta. Hi, Ken. How are you? Hrbek's expressed some interest, though, in becoming a wrestler, and he showed off his moves to Ron Gant. And as we always do, we went right to an expert for some analysis of that play. Here's what our expert had to say.
Based on what I saw, Kent Hrbek mastered the technique. The step over toe hold. Yeah. Hrbek, I'm impressed. Through the Macho Man's eyes, the tag was clean, and Gant was out. So what's off base about that? Yeah.
When we come back here, what were you doing when you were 21 years old? Steve Avery is pitching the biggest game of his life. I spent the past couple of days with him, and we'll have that for you straight ahead as our coverage of the 1991 World Series rolls on from Hotlanta here on CBS. Stay with us.
CBS Sports coverage of Game 3 of the 1991 World Series is brought.
Well, football fans tear down the goalposts, and zealous Braves fans tore the bat off a Henry Aaron statue. Look at that. They patched it up temporarily today and had some welders out there, and it looks to me that they did a pretty good job of it as we look at a picture of the bat there. Did a nice job, I think, on that bat. As Jim Cott joins us, and we welcome him up to the setup here, we might wonder, was that, if not a bad luck omen, at the very least a metaphor for the Braves' lack of hitting in the first 2 games, Kitty?
Well, the Braves hitters are getting beat up on because they haven't been getting big hits. But let's take a look at some of the pitching these guys have had to face. I mean, we're talking about 5 of the best pitchers in baseball. They've averaged 17 wins a start this year, 17 wins this year, 7 innings a start, and a low ERA. Bear in mind there's about 250 pitchers that have started games in the big leagues this year. All of these guys rank in the top 17.
That's an impressive list of names. What does Atlanta have to do to get going?
Well, eventually in big games you have to get a clutch hit off good pitching. So far Minnesota's been able to do it. Atlanta has not. But you know what? They might only need 1 run tonight. Guess who's pitching? Steve Avery.
Speaking of Avery, Kitty, he's not the youngest pitcher ever to start a World Series game. That distinction still belongs to Bullet Joe Bush, who stopped the New York Giants in another Game 3 back in 1913. You're laughing. Did you play with him?
I played against him. Low ball hitter.
We digress, though. The story tonight is indeed Steve Avery, and that's why we spent the past 48 hours with him. Sunday night, Minneapolis, the Twins have won games 1 and 2, and now Game 3 rests on the left arm of a youngster from Taylor, Michigan, who's already been compared to Hall of Famers such as Sandy Koufax, Jim Palmer, and future Cooperstown enshrinee Steve Carlton.
Those guys won 300 games, and most of them are in the Hall of Fame, and you know, it's nice to hear all that, but I've done it for 1 year. Those guys did it for a whole career, and you know, I still have a lot to prove to myself and everyone else, I believe.
A couple years ago when you were 19, what did you think you'd be doing when you were 21?
Well, I was in high school. I thought I'd be in college right now, but you know, I probably thought I'd still be in the minor leagues, just trying to get out there, and things have moved quicker than I believe I thought.
Like every other kid in America, Steve Avery had baseball high on his list of priorities, and that's where it remains. Day before the game, there he was in a World Series clubhouse. You nervous? Huh? Nervous about tomorrow?
No. I don't know. I haven't really thought about it yet.
Thought about it yet? When did you start thinking about it?
Probably a couple hours before the game.
As if he doesn't have enough on his mind putting the Braves back into the World Series, Avery still has to buy tickets for family and friends.
Mr. Avery?
How you doing?
How you doing?
Good.
You okay?
Got any advice for him?
Huh?
Got any advice for him?
Yeah, do a little harder.
You guys want to meet Steve Avery?
How y'all doing?
Yeah, hello. Pleased to meet you. You're doing a great job.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Steve, Carl Robbins.
Would you autograph my...
Sure are proud of you.
Hey, good work. Oh, we're so proud of you.
Kick ass tomorrow, man. They're a scrub team, man.
You know, these people are counting on you for a lot of things. That put a little pressure on you?
No added pressure. You know, I'm more worried about what my teammates are counting on, and I know it's a lot more of a good feeling when you can make them guys happy.
Yeah. But do you feel like you have the weight of Atlanta on your shoulders? I'm not trying to...
I think we all do. You know, they're expecting a lot out of us, and you know, it'd be great if we brought it home.
Game day 7:45 as Avery still sleeps. The entire state of Georgia has this 21-year-old on its mind.
Steve Avery's up tonight. Every time he gets up, he wins.
They won't get no more than 2 hits out of him, brother.
They probably want to get that.
No runs.
It's going to be long innings for us, but short for them because he strikes them out real quick.
Yeah, some good scouts there, some good old boys.
Speaking of scouts, these teams have been scouting one another for quite some time. Let's take a look at the blueprint of how Kevin Tapani tried to pitch David Justice Game 2 on Sunday night. The sequence of pitches started with a changeup low and away, another changeup. You'll see they consistently keep the ball away from Justice. On the 2-2 pitch, they tried one time to come in with a fastball. Pitch coming up right now, pitch 5. And then the final pitch of the at-bat, a fly ball to left field, was a changeup again outside. That's the way you blueprint the pitch. The actual at-bat with 2 on, 2 out Sunday night, here's the first one. A changeup, knee-high outside corner. Now on the second pitch, watch David Justice's front shoulder and his front foot. They pull away from the plate, off the ball. What does Minnesota try to do? Keep the ball away from him. Tapani with another changeup. That misses. Now they continue to stay out there with one more changeup on the third pitch. That's wide for a ball. Here to me is the key pitch in the at-bat. Watch the break of the pitch and the swing. Down and away, swings over it. 2-2, change of strategy. Fastball inside, misses. Full count. Another changeup, away. Not in a perfect spot, but far enough away. Justice can't get the fat of the bat on it. Harmless fly ball to left. Tapani and Harper escape the jam.
I like that. That was good. Justice is 1 for 8 with men in scoring positions in the postseason. Thank you, Kitty C, during the game.
All right.
The protests continue here in Atlanta and across the country regarding the chopping, the chanting, and the war paint that have become such a big part of the whole Atlanta Braves scene. You will see during the game that these protests have done little, if anything, to put a stop to this. But what the American Indian movement has done is to raise consciousness and put this issue on the agenda of the Braves and Major League Baseball, both of whom have pledged to give this matter a hard look after the World Series. Back in a moment. Maybe you can feel the excitement through your screen, and I got to tell you, we are excited to bring you Game 3, and the two gentlemen who will call the game for you are Jack Buck and Tim McCarver. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening, Pat O'Brien. Folks, everybody's in for a treat this evening with these two young pitchers going. It certainly will be an encounter.
Jack, you know how on Christmas morning everybody is so overjoyed to see the kids unwrapping the Christmas packages? Well, tonight, two kids are the packages.
They're going to thrill the folks that are here at the stadium and those tuned in. You know, when you talk to Tom Kelly, he said it seems like only one pitcher is pitching tonight, Steve Avery, whereas Scott Erickson has won more games this year, better ERA, fewer home runs, more complete games, more shutouts.
And Erickson is the elder statesman. I mean, Erickson, 23 years old, Steve Avery, 21 years old, and together, these two combined, the youngest starters, second youngest starters in World Series history. The only pair that started a World Series game was Fernando Valenzuela against Dave Righetti back in 1981. And I think the interesting thing is to know how different these pitchers are. Erickson gets hitters out primarily with the sinker, and Steve Avery primarily with the high fastball.
So maybe this is like Christmas morning here. And we'll return to Atlanta's Fulton County Stadium after this message and a word from your local station. There have been many great moments here at Atlanta's Fulton County Stadium. A couple of the most outstanding moments took place during the past years. One in 1966, when the Braves first came to Atlanta after playing in Milwaukee. Bobby Bragan led his ball club back from spring training. And here's another big moment here in Atlanta, the first World Series game ever in this ballpark. Let's tune in the Braves public address announcer, Marshall Mann.
Minnesota Twins. First, here are the coaches, trainers, and non-starters for the Twins. And now the manager of the Minnesota Twins, Tom Kelly. And the starting lineup. Leading off, playing left field, number 32, Dan Gladden. Batting second, playing second base, number 11, Chuck Knobloch. Batting third at first base, number 14, Ken Hrbek. Fourth, playing center field, number 34, Kirby Puckett. Batting fifth, playing right field, number 24, Shane Mack. Batting sixth at third base, number 31, Scott Leyes. The shortstop, batting seventh, number 7, Greg Gagne. The catcher, batting eighth, number 0, Junior Ortiz. And the pitcher, batting ninth, warming up in the bullpen, number 19, Scott Erickson. Now, let's meet our 1991 National League champion, Atlanta Braves. First, the coaches, trainers, and non-starters. Bobby Cox. And the starting lineup for the Braves. Leading off, playing left field, number 27, Lonnie Smith. Batting second at third base, number 9, Terry Pendleton. Playing center field, batting third, number 5, Ronnie Gant. Batting fourth, playing right field, number 23, David Justice. Batting fifth, playing first base, number 12, Sid Breeze. The catcher, batting sixth, number 10, Greg Olson. Batting seventh, playing second base, number 20, Mark Lemke. The shortstop, batting eighth, number 2, Rafael Belliard. Batting ninth, the pitcher warming up in the bullpen, number 33, Steve Avery. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the presentation of the colors by the Georgia Air National Guard. Remain standing, and to honor America, join in the singing of our national anthem, which will be presented tonight by Susan Slaughter, first trumpet in the St. Louis Symphony.
just terrific with Susan Slaughter on the trumpet and this crowd, 53,000 or more, joining in on the singing of our national anthem. We are just moments away from the first pitch of Game 3 of the 91 series.
CBS Sports coverage of Game 3 of the 1991 World Series.
The Atlanta Braves take the field, and they are really under the gun here this evening. They've lost the first two games of this series, 5-2 and 3-2 up in Minnesota. We'll play the next two games here for sure, and maybe the fifth game will be played here. Then a day off for travel is scheduled, and the series will wind up in Minneapolis if necessary. Moments ago, one of the greatest players ever from Mobile, Alabama, the all-time home run king of baseball, Henry Aaron, bounced the ceremonial first pitch up to home plate.
At least it was there in one hop. I think that's pretty good.
He had his moment here when he broke Babe Ruth's record. Here's the starting pitcher, Steve Avery, and here we go for the Twins with Dan Gladden in left, Chuck Knobloch at second, Ken Herbeck playing first, Kirby Puckett in center, Shane Mack in right, and then it is Leas, Scott Leas, then Gagne, then Ortiz, and Scott Erickson.
Steve Avery with a high fastball. That's his best pitch. His second best pitch is the circle change, and his third best pitch is his curveball. Only 21 years old, and he is remarkable. Defensively for the Braves, when Otis Nixon failed a drug test on September 16th, Lonnie Smith pressed into service in left field. Ron Gant will be the starting center fielder. David Justice in right field. Terry Pendleton, some people's MVP, will start at third. Rafael Belliard will be the shortstop. Mark Lemke at second base. Sid Bream will be the first baseman. And Greg Olson behind the plate.
And of course, the big question is, can Avery do it again? He won 18 games during the regular season. Then he beat the Pirates and Zane Smith 1-0. Then he beat Pittsburgh again in Game 6. Again 1-0, and he beat the formidable Doug Drabek. And now, in order for the Braves to be in any sort of a comfortable position, he's going to have to beat these Twins. And these Twins can really hack away against left-handed pitching.
291 during the year against left-handers. That led the major leagues. 291 average.
And Gladden is 0 for 6 in the World Series. He'll lead it off. He'll be followed by Knobloch and then Herbeck. What do you see in those eyes? And ball one is the first pitch as the flash bulbs pop. Here are the umpires with Drew Coble at the plate, Terry Tata, Rick Reed, Ed Montague, Don Denkinger, and Harry Wendelstedt. 1 ball, 1 strike. Gladden hits it into right center, and Gant's on the move, and the ball gets between them. That ball should have been caught, and Gladden's going to end up at third base. They hold him there. Well, that's the way the game started the other evening when the Twins were batting first inning Game 2.
And Dan Gladden has been the recipient both times. Sunday night's game, Justice and Mark Lemke collide, and the ball was dropped. And now Justice and Ron Gant come close to colliding. Somebody's got to take charge. Once again, David Justice, the ball is coming back to him. He should take charge in that situation. The ball is going away from Gant, and it gets away from both outfielders. Careless play on the part of the Atlanta outfield.
And that's the way this one starts. And Gladden's at third with nobody out. And we still await a ruling on that one. I imagine it's a 3-base hit. Here's ball one to Chuck Knobloch, who's 3 out of 6 in the first 2 games played. The Atlanta infield is back at second and short. They'll give up the run and a ground ball. And now ball 2 to Knobloch.
When a right-handed batter hits the ball to right field, the ball is tailing back to the right fielder. The ball you see is going away from Gant. That's Justice's ball. It was Justice's ball the other night. However, that will probably be scored a triple, and is.
3-base hit for Gladden is his first hit, and this will put Minnesota on top. Knobloch sacrifice fly, and the throw by Justice has no chance, and it is 1-0 in favor of the visiting Twins. And some people thought that Steve Avery just might shut these Twins down altogether.
We talked about Sunday night. Dan Gladden was the batter at the Metrodome in Minnesota. Routine pop-up, shallow right, and watch what happens. You may remember it. Lemke, Justice collide. The ball hits the turf. Justice charged with an error.
That kept the inning going, and then Chili Davis hit that 2-out home run. Kent Hrbek swinging strike 1. Hrbek 2 for 6 against Atlanta. And a 440-foot home run thrown in there. So the Braves have spotted the Twins a run with a misplay and a sacrifice fly. This crowd is chanting cheater with Hrbek at the plate because of that play involving Ron Gant, where Hrbek appeared to push Gant off the base and get a put out.
I guess it was cheater. I thought initially it was T-Rex.
2 balls and a strike. 3-1.
T-Rex, if Hrbek goes into professional wrestling once his baseball career is over, T-Rex will be the name under which he will wrestle.
3-2.
Talked about Steve Avery and that blistering fastball, and here, even with the count 3-1, the powerful Hrbek can't catch up with it. Well, that's a great shot right there.
And a half swing foul keeps it 3-2 with 1 out here in the first and a run across for the Twins.
That low home shot right there gives you an idea of what a left-handed hitter sees when he sees a left-handed pitcher.
To the shortstop, Belliard. 2 out. Well, this should have been a routine inning.
All right, all you left-handed hitters out in the audience. 94-mile-an-hour fastball, and Hrbek takes the outside fastball to shortstop.
Kirby Puckett is up. The base hit by Gladden is the first hit for any of the 3 Minnesota Twin outfielders in this series. They had been 0 for 21. Puckett is 0 for 8. And a strike to him. There's Dan Gladden. He got a 3-base hit, a gift triple, and he scored a run. Crowd groans on that call. 1-1. It should have been a routine 1-2-3 inning. There's strike. And it doesn't appear that Puckett was pleased with that call.
Baseball, we've said it before, baseball is a game of routine. It's the team that makes the routine play more often than not that eventually wins. Tom Kelly telling us that today before the game.
Puckett is down on strikes for Minnesota. 1 run on 1 hit. They've been the first to score in each of the 3 World Series games. 3 of the 91 series being played down here in Georgia. And the Twins got a run in the first. They send the 20-game winner, Scott Erickson, to the hill. 6'4", 225-pounder. Smith, Pendleton, and Gant. Justice, Bream, and Olson. Lemke, Belliard, and Avery the lineup for the Braves.
Offensively for Minnesota, Gladden, Puckett, and Mack in the outfield. Leyes, Gagne, Knobloch, Herbeck in the infield, and Junior Ortiz behind the plate.
And ball one to Lonnie Smith, who crowds that plate. There's Knobloch, Herbeck, Ortiz, the personal catcher for Erickson. 1-1. Erickson last year was 8-4. He blossomed at 20-8 this year. Smith held up and took ball 2. Lonnie is 0 for 6 in the series. Ball on the inside part tied Lonnie Smith up. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Only other American League pitcher you can compare Erickson with, Roger Clemens of the Red Sox.
Breaking ball fouled past third.
And I don't say that because of the result of his pitches, but by the way he starts his motion. With that glove right below the eyes, that's how Clemens starts. Of course, Roger, a high fastball pitcher, and Erickson with that sinker. Devastating sinker, very heavy and tough to pull. A lot of ground balls tonight off Erickson.
3-2. I don't care who you are, how tight you pitch the batter, how hard you throw, you don't chase Lonnie Smith off the plate. He struck him out, caught the outside corner, and Smith is gone, and he's 0 for 7.
The movement of an Erickson fastball, watch how it starts outside and comes back to catch the outside corner.
And Lonnie knew it. Well, at the plate now is a fellow the Braves certainly have to get going. The Atlanta third baseman, Terry Pendleton. He's 2 for 8 without an RBI in the series. And he was only able to get 5 hits in the 7 games against Pittsburgh. But he led the National League in hitting with 319, so he is due to break out of it. And he hits it hard right at the right fielder, and a good play by Shane Mack. He got a great jump on that ball and made it look easy.
You notice the socks of Scott Erickson? There are none of those white sanitaries under those black socks of Erickson. He is quite superstitious. No sanitary showing. Kevin Tapani, the delightfully wry right-hander who won Sunday night's game, calls him the day that he pitches the day of death.
He's a good one in his first pitch in for a strike to Ron Gant. Gant is 4 out of 8. And these Braves playing their first World Series game ever at home in Atlanta. Twins leading 1-0 first inning. Triple by Gladden. Sacrifice fly by Knobloch. Two balls and a strike. Braves not hitting much aside from their 10-run outburst and then one game against Pittsburgh. They're about 2 runs a game. Deep short. Can Gagne throw him out? Terrific, and the inning is over. Great play by the Minnesota shortstop, and after 1, the Twins lead it 1-0.
One nothing Minnesota here in the top of the second inning. When a hitter is ahead in the count, he's more apt to pull the ball. You could see Gagne cheating a half a step at shortstop and made what would have been a tough play an easy play.
And Shane Mack is first up against Steve Avery. Second inning, foul ball. 1-0 Twins. Mack, Leyes, and Gagne here in the second. Shane Mack is 0 for 7. He's up there hacking. Good play by that youngster down in the left field corner. Blew him away, and that's the second strikeout for the Atlanta left-hander.
Shows you that pop that Steve Avery has inside. Both Kirby Puckett and Shane Mack called out on the inside fastball.
When Tom Kelly, the manager of the Twins, talks, his speech is laced with irony. He said, I don't know why we even showed up tonight to bat against a fella like this. I don't think we'll score. We're just going to go through the motion.
Said everybody's already chalked it up for Avery and the Braves tonight.
And look who's ahead. The Twins 1-0 in the second with Scott Leyes at the plate. 1-1. Leyes 2 for 5 in series play, including that game-winning home run Sunday night. One and two. This is a hitter's ballpark. The ball really flies here. It's 330 down the line and left. 385 in the power alleys. 402 to dead center. And a 10-foot wall.
Very light air.
And a completely circular stadium, and the ball really jumps. 2-2. Tom Kelly was talking about the fact that even some of his pitchers hit it out yesterday in BP.
Scott Erickson and Jack Morris. He even said Al Newman hit a home run in batting practice yesterday, and he doesn't hit many.
I don't know why we're even bothering to play tonight, he said. He's a fun guy to visit with. There's another strikeout for Avery. That's 3, and he is retired 5 in a row.
Three straight strikeouts for Avery, and that's that changeup low and away. You'll throw it any time. And Leyes reaching and missing.
You're right about that, Tim. 3 and 2 doesn't matter to him.
No.
If he feels like throwing it, he does. Here's Greg Gagne. He's 2 for 6. There's a strike. Gagne with a 3-run homer in game 1. He was late on that one. Strike 2. And Avery is airing it out.
Well, that's the problem for a right-handed batter. You're behind the fastball and in front of the changeup. He's got you going 2 ways.
Out of play. Avery has fanned 3 in a row. And he is 0-2 on Gagne. Out of room in foul territory, and it's called for by Olson. Down in order, Twins, an inning and a half. And Minnesota's on top 1-0. The kid's good, isn't he? The Twins lead it 1-0 with a tainted run in the first. There's Steve Avery in the middle there. John Smoltz is going to be the hurler for the Atlanta Braves tomorrow evening. And earlier this evening, Tom Glavine warmed up, and it's been announced by his manager Bobby Cox that he will work game 5 if there is game 5.
And then if it goes 7, then it will be Avery on Saturday night and Smoltz on Sunday night.
Meanwhile, these Twins are staying with a 3-man rotation. Morris, Tapani, and Erickson to Justice and a strike. Scott had a 1-2-3 first inning. He had 3 shutouts this year. 1-1.
All 3 Atlanta left-handed batters. As you look at the eyes of
Erickson, all hit with an open stance.
That's foul to Herbeck.
What does an open stance mean? Well, that means that you spread your right foot if you're a left-handed batter, the left foot if you're a right-handed batter, and you face the pitcher more. A guy with a closed stance, you see more of the back of his shoulder. A guy with an open stance, a pitcher sees more of the front of the shoulder, and you can see the open stance of David Justice.
He's in the hole and he strikes out, and that's the second strikeout for Erickson.
And one of the problems that David Justice has had, he's been open too much. A breaking ball that stays outside gets David here. You see how he goes into the hitting motion, but he's got a lot to do with the bottom part of his body. Anybody who hits with an open stance, that's the case. And the same thing with Sid Bream. But Bream isn't open nearly as much as Justice.
And Bream is 1 out of 8 in the series. And Bobby Cox, the skipper of Atlanta. Ball 2. Foul past third base. 2-1. This pitcher, Erickson, will give his share of walks. He struck out 108, but he walked 71. Right at Herbeck, and 5 in a row retired by the visiting hurler.
Sid Bream, a good low ball hitter, and he hits a low sinker. And Herbeck is there.
Trying to become the first base runner of the night for the Braves is Greg Olson. Ball 1. Olson 2 for 7 the first 2 games. Ball 2. Erickson did not have a good second half of the campaign.
12-4 in the first half, 8-5 in the second half with an earned run average over 5. Arm problems in the middle of the season. As a matter of fact, he was supposed to have started the All-Star game. Instead, teammate Jack Morris started the All-Star game. Erickson was on the disabled list with a bad right elbow.
He walks Olson with 2 out. Olson at first. To gone will be held by Herbeck. Matt Corrales coaching there. When you get down to the tail end of the Atlanta batting order, these players, Lemke and then Belliard, are in there primarily for defense. Well, they don't pack much of a wallop. And there's a strike.
Especially against right-handed pitching, because, of course, Belliard is a right-handed batter, and Lemke hit .219 this year from the left side, over .250 from the right side. So against right-handers, their bottom part of the order is indeed weak.
Hit that ball twice. Foul. Strike 2. Minnesota out in front here, 1-0, and this crowd is comparatively quiet.
Scott Erickson, his moniker is Superman. A lot of people think he looks like Christopher Reeve. He was the star in Superman 1, 2, and 3, I guess. And the type of year he had, I guess, backs that up. 20-8 on the year. Super numbers.
He's a big man. It's 6'4", 225. Breaking ball foul keeps Lemke up there.
You folks at home think he looks like Christopher Reeve? Well, a little bit. Yeah.
Two and 2. Greg Olson walked. He's the first base runner for Atlanta. Bottom of the second, 2 out. Base hit by Lemke. Shane Mack gets it back. Olson stops at second.
Will be very, very shallow for Rafael Belliard. Actually, Puckett is too deep right now. The one thing that Belliard cannot do is drive in a lot of runs. And over 400 at-bats, he drove in only 27 this year.
And he is 1 for 3 in the World Series. Had 4 hits against Pittsburgh.
Kirby Puckett in center field, entirely too deep. Rafael Belliard would have to hit a ball twice to hit it that far in the air.
Fouled off the breaking pitch, and that's strike 2. Well, he had Lemke 2 strikes, ran it to 2 and 2, and Mark got a hit.
Kirby normally plays deep. A lot of outfielders do, but with a guy like Belliard, there will not be a play at the plate on a base hit to center field. He's too deep. Olson not a fast runner at second.
Oh, way out of the strike zone. He got a piece of it, and it's still 0-2. Steve Avery, the pitcher, will be up next. He's not a bad hitter. I don't know what he'll do against Erickson, but he's a good athlete and can swing the bat. But Belliard has to keep it going here in the second. One ball, 2 strikes. Olson walked. He's at second. Mark Lemke got the first Atlanta hit. He's at first. Inside, 2 and 2. Breaking ball, base hit. We are tied, and the runners end up at second and third. What did I say about the bottom of the order for Atlanta? They came through.
With 2 outs, Olson walks, Lemke singles, and now Belliard's turn. Gladden with a throw that is errant. It short hops Junior Ortiz, the catcher, and Olson scores the first run of the game.
So it's second and third, and Avery could help his own cause. Strike 1 to him. All of this happened with 2 out. A single, an RBI, no error, as the runner advanced to second on the throw to the plate. 1-1 game. To the second baseman. And Knobloch throws him out, and the inning is over. 1 run, 2 hits, 2 left. He's the hero for the moment. The little guys keep coming through. Let's check on fondest World Series memory of Furman Bisher of the Atlanta Constitution.
The one that sticks with me the most is 1947. Bill Bivens had a no-hit game going. I forget what game it was in the series. 2 men out in the 9th inning, and the first no-hitter in the history of the World Series. And he never got the last out. Cookie Lavalletta hit a double off the right field wall, scored 2 runs, and he not only lost his no-hitter, he lost the game, and he he never pitched another regular season Major League game in his life.
That was Furman Fisher with that memory. Turns out that neither Jim Bevins or Cookie Lavaghetto played another Major League game after that. Hop fly to the shortstop, Belliard. One gone as Ortiz jumped on the first one, and that's 7 in a row retired by the Atlanta pitcher. Furman Fisher has been a long-time writer down here in Atlanta. Was he down here when you were playing, Tim, in the minor leagues?
1962. I played for the Atlanta Crackers, Ponce de Leon Park.
The pitcher is up, Erickson. Let's see what he can do. There's one.
How would you like for your first professional at bat to be in the World Series? Well, that's the case with Scott Erickson.
He's getting his swings, I'll say that for him. Avery has struck out 3. 4. We asked Scott Erickson about hitting.
That's all I want to do for hitting.
We have a little problem with that. We'll get you Scott Erickson's words. As Steve Avery waits for Dan Gladden to come to the plate, he'll give Erickson a little extra time on the bench. Gladden having difficulty getting the donut, that lead weight off his bat. Here's what Scott Erickson said about his hitting.
We try not to get hit by the ball, and hopefully there'll be runners on off the bunt. That's all I want to do for hitting.
Try not to get hit by the ball. It's a simple approach.
He didn't. He struck out, the 4th strikeout victim for Avery, who has retired 8 in a row and deals with Gladden, who tripled and scored in the 1st. Now that the Braves have scored to tie it, this crowd is with it a little more. 1-1 in the 3rd.
Like Minnesota, the Atlanta Braves need the crowd in the game. I mean, they've lost 2 World Series games up there, and if they lose tonight, be down 3-zip.
Gladden hits one, foul.
And no team in Major League history has ever come back from a 3-0 deficit. That's how important this game is tonight for the Braves. The best of 7 series since 1905 to 1954. 20 teams were down 0-2, but none came back to win the series. The twist on that is since 1955, 9 teams that were down 0-2 have come back out of 19. 19 teams were down 0-2, and 9 came back. So in recent history, it's certainly proven that it is not that great a feat to come back when you're down 0-2. 0-3 is a different deal.
That's a whole new ballgame when you're 0-3. Gladden becomes the 5th strikeout victim. 9 in a row retired by Avery. Will return to Atlanta Fulton County Stadium after this message and a word from your local station.
Tied at 1, go to the bottom of the 3rd. The Minnesota Twins have only played 1 series in a month on natural grass. And the result of that, I think you're going to see the infielders playing a little shallow, not getting quite the jump on ground balls that they're accustomed to getting on the turf. And you see right there Scott Leyes losing his footing for just an instant and playing very close to the bag.
And a good time for us to point out, Tim, how fast this grass infield is.
Now, Bobby Cox says it's faster than artificial surface. And, of course, you have the added ingredient of the Atlanta Falcons playing on this field. But it is in very, very good shape since last Sunday the Falcons were forced to move their game to San Francisco.
Lonnie Smith is up, and he's in the hole 1-2. He was called on in strikes his first time. This is the top of the order. Smith, Pendleton, and Gant. Two and two. 2-out walk cost Erickson in the 2nd. Base hit by Lemke, base hit by Belliard. 3 and 2.
In the National League Championship Series, Lonnie Smith was 0 for 10 before he connected, 0 for 7 in the series.
It's this one foul. The aerial shots this evening from the Spirit of Akron, brought to you by Goodyear Tires and your local Goodyear retailer. Tonight's pilot is Captain Pat Henry from Parsons, West Virginia. Chasing it in the corner is Mack. And he made an excellent play. Shane Mack got over there in a hurry and takes the bat out of the hands of Lonnie Smith.
Shane Mack says that if he were not a professional baseball player, he'd go back to college and major in real estate, and he covers a lot here.
He challenged that ball and caught it for the first out here in the home third. Pendleton lined out to right his first time.
Barry Pendleton spraining his left knee the other night on that slide in the 8th inning up at the Metrodome. He will have that knee operated on. He's had treatment, so he will be slow of foot this evening and throughout the rest of the series.
And an easy play for Knobloch, and there are 2 gone. Is that the Rookie of the Year in the American League?
Take another look at the injury. If you'll remember the other night in the 8th inning with Kevin Tapani covering first, the slide of Pendleton, and then he topples over first base after getting his left foot caught in first base and sprained his left knee, and he'll have it operated on when the year's over.
Earlier he had injured his arch, and so he was far from top speed. Ron Gant is up with 2 out. Yanked around to the short his first time. Three and 0, and he's probably swinging.
I would be, but the Braves have not hit a home run in this series. Only extra base hits, 3 doubles.
He didn't want it. 3 and 1. Right fielder Mack has it, and down in order go the Braves in the third. We played 3 and we're tied 1 apiece.
This game summary is sponsored by Budweiser.
2 runs scored in the game. Gladden started it with a triple, scored on the sacrifice fly by Knobloch, and Belliard has driven in the Atlanta run, and Steve Avery has given up that 1 hit, cost him a run, and he has had 5 strikeouts, and he's retired 9 in a row. 4th inning, and Knobloch leads it off. Pendleton has it. 10 in a row by the Atlanta left-hander.
Avery coming into this game with 16 1/3 consecutive innings without giving up a run. That's in postseason. Some fancy company that he was chasing.
I don't like Kent Hrbek down here. They're having some good-natured fun with him. He skies it into center for Ron Gant. 2 out.
Here is a look at the leaders in consecutive scoreless innings in postseason play. Christy Matheson with 3 shutouts, 27. That's in 1 postseason. And then it goes down to Steve Avery. That includes the World Series and League Championship Series.
He's in good company there. He has retired 11 in a row as he deals with Kirby Puckett. And a strike.
The record for consecutive scoreless innings over a period of years held by Whitey Ford, 33. And whose record did he break? Babe Ruth's.
A looper in the right, and Justice caught it. That was some play. 12 in a row retired by Steve Avery. We're still tied. A light hitting affair as these pitchers hold fourth. 1-1 bottom of the fourth, and David Justice made that fine play to end the top half of the inning. Leads it off. Ball one. Earlier, Scott Erickson retired 5 in a row, and at this point 4 in a row. Ball 2 to Justice, who fanned his first out. And the Braves aren't scoring many runs. It'll be Justice, Bream, and Olson here in the fourth inning.
Left-handed batters hit .295 against Erickson over the season. So I think if the Braves are going to get to Erickson tonight, it's going to be with their left-handers.
It'll be Pendleton, Justice, Bream for the most part. 3-1.
I think one of the reasons for that, to be effective, Scott has to be down in the strike zone. And often left-handed hitters are better low ball hitters.
Hit it good. Ready to pitch to Bream. And a foul. This crowd didn't quiet down until Justice came out and took a bow. It's his first run batted in this series. And it puts Atlanta on top 2-1 in the fourth. And brings the crowd to life.
And now Erickson and Ortiz are changing their pattern. They threw the curveball straight change. When you get behind power hitters and have to come in with a fastball, the chances of him putting the good part of the bat on the ball go dramatically up. And that's what Justice did.
Hit it good. Nobody out.
See, that's what we're talking about left-handed batters. In order to be successful, Erickson throws it into that zone. And with the count 3-1, that's just a free swing right there. That ball a tracer to right field. It cleared the fence about 1.5 feet. And then Sid Bream, that ball laying back into the zone, a real mistake to Bream, and he doubles off the wall. So the left-handers back to back.
And Olson is up. Ball one to him. Let's tune in. starts to crank it up for the Twins. Olsen to deep short. And he got him. And Breen had to stay at second. That's the first out of the inning, and the second long throw by Gagne at short.
Well, what made this one different was that he was back on his heels when he made the throw. The hop dictated that he stayed back on his heels. Boy, that is a fine play by Greg Gagne. He never had a chance to rearrange the position of his feet to get anything on that ball. He had to throw flat-footed from his heels, and he just gets Olsen.
Lemke hits it to Hrbek, to the pitcher. Another good play, 2 out. Well, had Olsen advanced the runner, that ball would have gotten a run home.
Now, if you hit it on the ground to the right side, and anything in the area of this guy, you can forget it. You take a right instead of a left. He sucks up everything, and Tom Kelly telling us that no contest. He's the best defensive first baseman in baseball, and I think I agree with it.
So it takes a 2-out something from Belliard if the Braves are going to get any more. Ball one to Raphael, who singled home a run in the second. To the second baseman, Knobloch, and that ends the inning. 3 good plays by the Twins on defense. Home run and a double, and 1 left for Atlanta. They've left 3. But after 4, Atlanta's on top, 2-1.
2-1 Atlanta here in the 5th inning, and you hear often hitters talking about the sweet spot of the bat. Well, Jackie Gleason, wherever you are, how sweet it is.
There was some picture of the home run swing by David Justice. And so the Braves say to their 21-year-old lefty, there you go. They give you a 2-1 lead, and a fly ball to right to be chased by Ginn or Justice. Justice made the catch. That's 13 in a row retired by Avery, and let's join Jim Cox.
Well, one thing that's pretty obvious, Jack and Tim, you know, Timmy, when they've said, hey, relax, it's a big game, but relax, I almost think that Scott Erickson is a bit too relaxed. His fastball is about 5 miles an hour slower than it has been all year, and I think he's so consciously trying to throw within himself, doesn't really have that good pop on the ball like Twins are accustomed to seeing him.
I think you can get away with that type of sinker to a right-handed batter, but not to a left-hander, and certainly last inning proved the case.
Strike one to Elias. Strikeout victim his first time. Home run hero Sunday night. Strike 2, and this Avery is like a machine.
Yeah, and I see a lack of velocity would hurt a guy like Avery. Jim was talking about lack of velocity with Erickson, and I think that's the case. But with Erickson, he has so much movement on the ball that he can get away with it a lot more than a guy like Avery, who throws high fastballs.
1-2. The only runner the Twins have had was on that tainted triple by Gladden to start the game.
Yeah, Timmy, you talk about that movement on the ball, the difference. You've hit off those guys with that heavy sinker, and tonight that sinker's just kind of turning over. It's not biting.
Pop fly for Lemke. 14 in a row set down by the Atlanta lefty.
Avery winning 1-0 and 1-0. No other pitcher in the history of postseason play has ever won 2 1-0 games in postseason. And the irony of that is 2 days before that, Zane Smith became a member in the 1-0 club. Before that, nobody had been involved in 2 1-0 games, and Smith was involved in 2. Avery won 2.
Belliard gets him. That's 15 in a row retired by the Atlanta left-hander. And the Braves lead 2-1. 2-out RBI by Belliard in the second. Home run by Justice in the fourth. And we are into the bottom of the fifth. And Mr. Atlanta leads it off. Avery had 17 hits during the season. Rounded out his first time up this evening. There have been 4 Atlanta hits tonight, plus a walk given up by Scott Erickson. The man walked across the plate. Two and two.
Steve Avery working to Dan Gladden in the first inning, and he hits a ball to right center. A ball misplayed by Justice and Gant. Were it not for that, it'd be a perfect game right now, and a 2-0 lead.
But the Twins will have 4 more cracks at this fella.
Mentioned his hitting ability. This year he had a 4-hit game and a 3-hit game.
And he stays alive.
First pitcher in the National League to have a 4-hit game and a 3-hit game since 1970 when Mike Torres did it. If you're wondering about pitchers hitting in the World Series.
A strikeout victim, and for Erickson, that's his third.
I guess we're still wondering as Avery goes down on strikes. But the last pitcher to get a hit in the World Series, Mike Moore, back in 1989 for Oakland. And before that, Tim Stoddard back in 1979. So pitchers are now 2 for their last 104 in World Series play.
Now around to the top of the batting order. Lonnie Smith has struck out and fouled out to right. Foul ball. They are not using the designated hitter here in the National League ballpark. If we go back to Minnesota, they'll again use the DH. Lonnie Smith hits it well. There's another run for Atlanta.
Change-up or breaking ball, but a real mistake from Erickson. And Lonnie Smith pounces on it. High change-up.
First postseason home run in Lonnie Smith's career.
And this is his 48th game in postseason play.
And his 4th World Series with 4 different clubs. 2 balls and a strike to Pendleton. 3-1 Atlanta. Lonnie Smith. It's the 2nd home run of the night. During the season, Erickson allowed only 13 home runs.
And only 5 to right-handed batters. He does not appear to be sharp tonight.
Pendleton walks. A 1-out walk is the 2nd issued by the Minnesota hurler. And a visit to the mound coming up. Terry Leach starts to get ready for the Twins. Big Such comes out there to chat with his young hurler.
Dave Justice with a home run in the 4th inning, and in this inning, Lonnie Smith. A high changeup. And a World Series souvenir.
Erickson stays in. 1 on, 1 out.
Terry Leach in the bullpen now for the Twins, and I'm a bit surprised with Justice and Green coming up. You remember the left-handed pitcher David West was warming up the last inning. It's an unusual move if he were to bring Terry Leach in there to pitch to the 2 left-handed batters.
For now, it's Ron Gant, 0 for 2. They've got the ooh-oohs down here again. To Pendleton, ball 1 to Gant. Erickson pitched 4 innings, and the only start he had against Toronto. Gave up a couple of runs. Walked 5. That ball popped up by Gant for an apparent second out as Knobloch has it. David Justice has sparkled on defense and hit a home run. Home run in the 4th, snapped the 1-1 tie. Ordinarily, Pendleton would be a fair threat to steal a base, but with that bad arch and that bad knee, why, he won't be going anywhere, particularly with Justice up there. Fans are booing Hrbek. They think he should knock him off the base. There goes Pendleton, and he is in there.
Talking to Tom Kelly before the game tonight, he said that nobody can teach instincts. He said if you don't have instincts, you can't be taught instinctively how to run the bases. And Terry Pendleton right here, off as soon as the ball hits in the dirt. He didn't hesitate. He just takes off and makes it easily. Fine base running by Pendleton.
So that's a wild pitch. Now 2 balls and a strike to David Justice. Justice, a little bit of everything. A strikeout, a home run, a misplay perhaps in the 1st inning, and then the dazzling catch. And the count is 2-2. So he's been very involved, Tim.
Very involved. Oh, the error in Sunday night's game and that misplay tonight, that ball in my mind was clearly misplayed. So I don't really think his right field play has been as good as it could be, as good as it should be, as good as it has been.
Knobloch, it bobbles it, and they got Pendleton, but he gets back. And that'll be the first error of the game.
Chuck Knobloch with a lot of time, and he just boots the ball. That's a big league error right there.
Sid Bream will try to cash in on a walk and an error. But here comes Tom Kelly, the manager of the Twins.
See, the left-hander David West is back up. Tom Kelly has to make a move, and one would think that he'll go to West to try to pitch to Sid Bream for the one out. We'll see.
That's right. He wants the left-hander David West.
Atlanta leading Minnesota 3-1. Scott Erickson is out of there. The last time he started, David West, the left-hander, came in Toronto, and he's in there tonight. You may remember the American League Championship Series in Game 3, bottom of the 5th inning. The count 1-2 on Joe Carter, and a gutsy move by Tom Kelly, bringing in West, and he struck out Carter with the slider.
Now West throws ball 1 to Sid Bream. 2 on, 2 out. A home run by Lonnie Smith, then a walk, then an error. And ball 2 to Bream. Bream is not helpless against left-handed pitching. With an everyday first baseman there for the Pirates. Ball 3. Three to 1 Atlanta, home half of the 5th, 2 on, 2 out. Gary Pendleton is the runner at third base, and across the way, David Justice with 2 out. That loads him up. Atlanta with a 2-out chance to get very comfortable in this game. Greg Olson has walked and scored and grounded out.
Matter of fact, the home run by David Justice, the first lead that the Braves have had in this series.
He held up, says Terry Tato, umpiring at first. Olson has been a good 2-out hitter for Atlanta all season long.
373 with 2 outs and runners in scoring position, second to Dave Magadan of the Mets.
Ball 2. In case you're wondering, folks, on 2-0, he's swinging. At the knees with a borderline call. Three and 1. Running the bases, we have Pendleton, Justice, and Bream. 2 out, 3 and 1. Another run for Atlanta. Ball 4 brings home a run and brings out Tom Kelly. And we're going to get our third Minnesota pitcher. It'll be Terry Leach. The Place is rocking down here in Georgia. We're at Atlanta's Fulton County Stadium, where the Braves have now opened up the lead with 2 runs in this inning and a 4-1 lead over Minnesota. Full moon over Dixie. And the bases are loaded, 2 out. We have a new pitcher, Terry Leach, who at age 37 is the oldest player in this World Series.
Terry throws a sinker. There is no way for him to throw any kind of breaking ball that goes down with his delivery. And speaking of deliveries, what a terrific delivery by Steve Avery. But you will see the submarining fashion of Terry Leach. He throws from down under.
To Lemke, who is 1 for 2. And Leach gets ahead with the bases loaded and 2 out. An error prolonged this inning. And Atlanta cashed in, getting their 4th run. Strike 2 to the second baseman. Lemke helped Atlanta score a run in the second with a base knock. That ball slicing foul and out of play.
See Steve Bedrosian down there. He will probably be the pitcher when Atlanta hits in the 6th inning. Terry Leach is scheduled up second. And this is the error that Jack was talking about. With 2 outs, a very easy play for Chuck. And in trying to make the transfer, he just bobbled the ball. That prolonged the inning, and the Braves have scored at least 1 because of that error.
That ends the inning. 2 runs, 1 hit, 1 error. 3 left. Atlanta is stranded 6. We'll return to Atlanta's Fulton County Stadium after this message and a word from your local station.
4-1 Atlanta, and you have another look and the last look at the submarining style of Terry Leach to get Mark Lemke and keep the Twins in this game.
Tim said the last look because they're going to lift him for a pinch hitter in this inning after Junior Ortiz leads it off. He popped out his first time, and he told us he might go deep this evening. Ortiz, no home runs during the year. 1-1 with Steve Avery on the mound after having been seated on the bench for a long time. We'll see if it affects him. Ortiz didn't like the call.
Tom Kelly has these hitters from which to choose, or from whom to choose. Bush, Palirulo, Sorrento, the lefties. The right-handers, Brown and Harper, and the switch hitters, Davis, Larkin, and Newman. Looks like Gene Larkin on deck. With the Twins carrying only 9 pitchers, they do have quite an assortment of hitters from which to choose.
Ortiz corks it up the middle for a hit. And that is only the 2nd runner of the night for the Twins, and a leadoff single after 15 in a row had been retired in order. Goodyear Blimp, Spirit of Akron, continuing a 25-year tradition of World Series appearances. If it's a big event, you can count on a Goodyear Blimp being on hand. And we do have a pinch hitter. It is Gene Larkin. Batting for Leach. All 4 Atlanta runs charged to the starter, Scott Erickson. He went up there hacking, strike 1. They're playing behind Ortiz at first. He's not a stolen base threat. And the Twins are down by 3. 6th inning. 1 ball, 1 strike. Avery ahead on the count.
See Tom Kelly sprinkle a lot of at-bats with his middle men, his middle hitters. Guys like Gene Larkin, 255 at-bats this year, a 286 hitter. And he keeps all 25 guys on his roster ready for situations like this.
Keeps them ready and happy. Larkin hits it foul back here and stays up with a 1-2 count. Twins scored a run in the first. Trying to get back on the board here in the sixth. There's Chili Davis. The fact they were not using the DH keeps him on the bench for the moment. Ooh, almost walked into that one. 2-2. Can this fellow continue to do it? Another hit for the Twins, and the first two have reached, and Ortiz stops at second. And Lonnie Smith did a good job of getting to it.
Fine hitting by Gene Larkin, a changeup and in a good spot. And as Jack said, Lonnie Smith hurrying over to get in front of this ball and hold Ortiz to second base.
Avery had been ahead of both of these hitters in this inning. He had a 2-strike count on Ortiz, and he had a 2-strike count on Larkin and let him get away. And just like that, the tying run appears at the plate in the person of Dan Gladden. He has tripled, scored, and struck out. Ball 1 to him. So the Twins make it more than interesting here in the sixth inning. A well hit ball by Gladden, and Lonnie Smith tracks it to the track and makes the catch. Runner tags at second and advances to third. First and third, one out. Larkin stayed at first, and Gladden didn't miss by much.
Good base running by Junior Ortiz. One more bite of cereal this morning, and Dan Gladden may have had a home run to tie this game up.
Ortiz at third base. And Gene Larkin at first.
Ortiz sliding head first into third base, but look at his alignment. He's looking at the ball, and in the process runs outside the line. As we all know, the closest between 2 points is a straight line, but you couldn't prove it by the way Junior was running from second to third.
Now the batter, Knobloch. He pops it up. Breen calls for it. Foul ball, 2 out. With a big put out. Let's hear from Jim Cott at this moment.
Yeah, Jack and Tim, I thought what was unusual on that play, Junior Ortiz moved up, and everyone might say, why didn't Gene Larkin? Larkin can hit, but he cannot run very well. He's got a bad knee. That's why you're going to see him be very, very cautious on the bases.
And when you're trailing by 3 runs, Kitty, you have to be very cautious, and I think Larkin was closer to second base and really didn't have a chance to get back and tag up.
Now it's Herbeck, 2 on, 2 out. He hits it to center field. Gant at the track. And Atlanta still leads by 3. There's Mike Avery. He's rooting for his brother and rooting for the Braves. And it's 4-1 Atlanta.
4-1, bottom of the 6th inning, Atlanta on top. You saw Dan Gladden come close to hitting one out. And now Ken Herbeck comes very, very close to tying this game. And Avery survives the 6th.
He gave up 2 leadoff hits in the inning. But the Twins strand their first 2 runners, and Steve Bedrosian is the 4th hurler of the night for the visitors. And ball 1 to Belliard leading it off. Atlanta's had only 4 hits. They've scored 4 times. They've hit their first 2 home runs of the series. Two balls and a strike to Belliard. Gagney's made a couple of good plays, and there's another. Boy, he can pick it.
You know, something interesting, after Hrbek hit that ball and Avery was pounding the glove on his right leg, watch Hrbek's eyes. This is after Avery had said something, and it could have been that Hrbek thought he was talking to him, but you could see him flashing those eyes to Avery. No big deal, but a lot of times pitchers get emotional and hitters think they're talking to them.
Avery is up, and he's 0 for 2. Ball 1 from Bedrosian. He's no stranger to this park. Ball 2. Minnesota bullpen continues to do the job. All 4 runs charged to the starter, Scott Erickson. Although David West did force home a run. But they have not allowed an earned run in the last 26 2/3 innings. That dates back to the '87 World Series. Steve gets a strike in there, 3-1.
Steve Bedrosian, one of the 11 Twins that have World Series experience. Cy Young Award winner in 1987.
3-2. Lonnie Smith on deck. And Avery goes down swinging. 2 out. Back in the 5th inning with 1 out and nobody on. 2-1 Atlanta. Lonnie Smith corked one. That was the 3rd Atlanta run, and a walk, an error, and 2 more walks gave the Braves their 4th run. One for 3 this evening for Smith. Ball 1. Bedrosian made 2 appearances in the playoff against Toronto, allowed 2 unearned runs. Ball and a strike. Well, we're certain that we're going to be playing here tomorrow night, 8 o'clock Eastern time. And the Twins will be pitching Jack Morris again, and John Smoltz will oppose him. First series appearance for Smoltz. And the Braves announced this evening that if we have Game 5, Tommy Glavine will come back and pitch against Tapani. Where's the ball? There it is. You're out. And Bedrosian has a 1-2-3 inning. We have played 6. Atlanta leads it 4-1. We go into the old stretch inning. 4-1 Atlanta on top. We have a new left fielder as the Braves try to bolster their defense with Keith Mitchell taking over for Lonnie Smith. I'd like to mention again the reason for the letters on the sleeve of the Atlanta uniform, as Kirby Puckett leads it off. That's a salute to John Mullen, a tribute to the late John Mullen, who died this year, vice president of the Braves. Hit by Puckett, and that one's carrying a long way, and Mitchell can't do anything about that one. And that makes it 4-2 as Puckett gets his first hit of this World Series. And the Twins fans have an opportunity to root here in the 7th inning.
Earlier, Lonnie Smith's first hit of the World Series was a home run. And now Kirby Puckett with a home run. And that's the salute from the Metrodome in Minnesota. They are showing the game on a very large screen there. Several thousand people are involved in watching the game. And what a tribute that is to Kirby Puckett and to the Twins, that many people would show up when there's no game being played.
Tim, you consider the leadoff hits in the 7th, plus the ball hit by Gladden and the ball hit by Herbeck. There's one to Pendleton, and that's the first out. Avery is not nearly as strong as he was earlier.
Several hard-hit balls in the 6th inning, and now this rocket by Kirby Puckett down and in. A tracer to left. It's now 4-2 Atlanta. Talked about the sweet spot again. How sweet it is.
I bet that felt good to Kirby. That makes the score 4-2. That ball shot over the wall and left. We've had 3 home runs tonight. Now Avery misses to Scott Leyes with 1 out here in the 7th. 1 ball, 1 strike. Into right field for Justice. 2 out. Let's go down to Jim Cott.
Well, Jack and Timmy, all those years you caught lefties, Steve Carlton, I wonder how much of the back of his uniform you saw, because what's impressive about Avery's delivery, he makes an extra little coil turn away from the hitter, more so than most pitchers. I think that's where he generates a little more power and a little better snap on that breaking ball.
Yeah, Kitty, we talked about hitters how they have to keep their front shoulder closed. It's the same thing with pitchers, and Avery does it very well.
Now the batter is Gagne with 2 out. Gagne 0 for 2 and 2 for 8.
Yeah, I think, Timmy, you mentioned earlier in the season of Steve Avery working with his dad on his mechanics, and boy, they sure did it right, because you don't see many young pitchers with that perfect and flawless emotion. Absolutely perfect mechanics.
Father has been working with him since he was 8 years old, and if things go wrong, they don't go wrong because that front shoulder is not closed. You hear pitchers talk about their mechanics all the time, and Avery's are almost perfect, and there they are. Right into your living room.
Gagne reaches and fouls it. 2-2. Lead-off home run by Puckett, and now they're 2 out.
How do you learn so much at a young age? 21 years old, and he is a star. Another young star, Macaulay Culkin, comparing with him. The difference between Culkin and Avery is that Avery's not home alone, and you can hear it.
This crowd wants the 3rd out here in the 7th inning. Minnesota now has 4 hits. Not getting the ball by them quite as regularly as he did earlier, is he?
No. Well, hitters turn it up a notch. You know, this is the 3rd time, actually the 3rd time that many of these hitters are facing Avery. Their bats have sped up, and his fastball has slowed down.
Right center for Justice, and now Lemke goes out and handles it. 1 run on 1 hit. 7th inning stretch time. The score 4-2 Atlanta. Fans are on their feet here. 7th inning stretch time.
Yeah,
Twins scored in the 1st. Atlanta tied it in the 2nd. took the lead in the fourth, added 2 in the fifth. David Justice. There's Bobby Cox. Justice in the middle of a lot of things here this evening, as he has been throughout this series. Here's Pendleton to lead it off. 0 for 2 with a walk and a run scored. Steve Bedrosian worked the 6th and had a 1-2-3 frame. Gets ahead on the count.
Steve Bedrosian originally signed with the Atlanta Braves. He lives in the Atlanta area. He has a farm in Noonan, Georgia. Loves the area.
That's strike 2 to Pendleton. Bedrosian told me the other day they just had their 4th son in the family. And you folks have probably heard the story that one of the youngsters has leukemia, and he told me he's doing very, very well. That boy's name is Cody. Still strike 2. Pendleton, Gant, and Justice in the Atlanta 7th. There's Jack Morris doing some charting. He'll be coming back tomorrow night against John Smoltz. Morris a powerful winner in game 1. And Pendleton pops it up leading off. Reyes has it. 4 in a row by Bedrosian. Too much? Spinners will go. Unlike these 8:30 starts. Ron Gant is 0 for 3. 4 out of 11. In the left center, and Gladden has it. 2 out, and we're going back to Jim Kaat.
You know, the at-bat that David Justice had in the 4th inning, we talked about before the game, the Twins pitchers have been trying to keep the ball away from him. Kevin Tapani did it because that front shoulder's pulling off. You see, those 4 pitches are fine, but that last one, that was right in the joy spot, and this is what it looked like to David Justice. Eyes lit up, and as Tim said, a tracer. The one mistake they've made to him in this series.
That home run came in the 4th and snapped a 1-1 tie. He bats with 2 out in the 7th. Ball 1.
That pitch also came with the count 3-1. When hitters are in an offensive situation instead of a defensive situation, and they can swing from their heels. It's like a defensive lineman who knows the quarterback's going to throw the ball. They don't have to worry about the run. Pin their ears back. Isn't that the saying? Pin their ears back and go after them. Well, that's what hitters do when it's 2-0 and 3-1. Yeah.
1 ball, 1 strike.
That's why it is so important and stressed so much by all good pitching coaches to stay ahead in the count. Strike 1, the biggest pitch in any count.
2 balls and a strike. 2 out. 5 in a row retired by Bedrosian. Two and 2. With 1-0 favor of the Twins after 1, but now the Braves are on top. There's Tom Glavine. He will pitch game 5 if we have game 5. Full count. Hrbek made a good play, and 6 in a row by Bedrosian. Now we've played 7 innings, and Atlanta has a 4-2 lead over the Twins.
Game summary is sponsored by AT&T.
Atlanta's hit their first 2 home runs of the series, Justice and Lonnie Smith. Avery has held the Twins to 4 hits and a couple of runs through 7 innings. Puckett has popped one for Minnesota. That made it 4-2, and here's a pinch hitter against Steve Avery, and it's Brian Harper batting for Junior Ortiz, and ball 1. So far, 5-2 at Minnesota and 3-2 Twins at home. Tomorrow night, 8 o'clock, and if Atlanta wins, we'll then have a game 5 on Thursday evening. Ball 2 to Brian Harper. Ortiz was 1 out of 2 while he was in there. There's a strike down in the Atlanta bullpen. Alejandro Pena cranks it up. Across the way, Carl Willis. And he will become the 5th pitcher for the Twins. Count goes to 3-1. Talked about Harper before, about his good bat control, Tim. Doesn't walk, doesn't strike out very often. Chili Davis waits on deck to bat for Bedrosian. Things are on the move here.
Only 22 strikeouts and 14 walks on the year. He usually puts the ball in play.
Avery gives a strike is called. Umpire called a strike on that one, and that makes it 3-2. Harper couldn't believe it. He had tossed the bat away, and he was well on his way to first.
Well, you saw Greg Olson in the strike zone, especially with the count 3-1. He reached out of the strike zone to catch it. That ball appeared to be outside or low, and maybe both. That's a big break for Avery right there.
Lead off man in the 8th. Pendleton scoops it, grabs it, throws it, and safe at first. We'll see how they roll that one, and Harper gets down to first base nonetheless.
Because he backhanded the ball, they may give him a base hit. But because Terry Pendleton is such a good fielder, they're going to give him an error. Sometimes you're penalized by your ability. Pendleton is such a slick fielder. 2 Gold Gloves to his credit, and this is an error, but with some third baseman, it could have been ruled a hit.
That brings Bobby Cox out of the dugout. He didn't like the 6th inning or the 7th inning. The Puckett home run. Now the error, and he lifts Steve Avery. Alejandro Pena will come in and listen to this crowd. The tying run will be at the plate for the Twins, who trail 4-2 here in the 8th. Steve Avery did all he could. 7 innings. No walks. And he struck out. He gave 4 hits, struck out 5, and allowed 2 runs. So Pena takes over.
Alejandro Pena obtained, as you look at Brian Harper, the runner at first base, Pena obtained by the Braves on August 31st for Tony Castillo and Joe Roa, a right-handed pitcher. And he has been a terrific pitcher for the Braves. 11 for 11 in save opportunities during the season, 3 saves during the NLCS, plus a 2-0 record. And Chili Davis, when they faced each other in the National League, was 3 for 10 against Pena.
They play behind the runner at first base. That's Harper, nobody out. Top of the 8th inning. Tying run at the plate. Chili Davis homered Sunday night. He takes ball 1. And you'll see some fastballs from Pena.
You'd want to throw Chili Davis fastballs anyway. He is a devastating off-speed hitter. You saw him take the Tommy Glavine changeup the other day, deep for a home run.
He got a big swing at that one. At the end of tonight's game, Tim McCarver and I will select the Chevrolet Most Valuable Player of the Game. Chevrolet will donate $1,000 on the player's behalf. to the Special Olympics.
How about that? With runners on base, the opposition has one hit in the last 30 at-bats against Pena.
Into left field. Mitchell back. How far is this going? We are tied. We are tied on a pinch home run by Chili Davis. An error and a home run and a 4-4 game. And no win for Steve Avery tonight. Andy MacPhail is the general manager of the Twins. And up in Minnesota in the Metrodome, they are celebrating the home run by Chili Davis. So now the game belongs to Pena. And it's 4-4 here in the 8th. And that was a crushing blow for the Braves, who now face Dan Gladden at the plate.
And a big blow, obviously, for the Twins. Chili Davis and Scott Erickson roomed together in Minneapolis. So I guess Chili's saying, Scott, that was for the room.
He got him off the hook. Gladden strikes 2 on the foul.
An opposite field home run, 29 during the season, 2 here in the World Series. The second 2-run homer for Chili Davis.
And still nobody out in the Minnesota 8th. Pendleton grabs this one and gets the first out here in the 8th inning.
You know, you talk about the Twins coming to Atlanta, and everybody's talking about the DH and how you're not going to be able to use Chili Davis, only a pinch hitter. All 3 pinch hitters for the Twins tonight have gotten on base. Single by Larkin, a hard hit ball that was an error by Brian Harper, and now the 2-run homer by Chili Davis. So Tom Kelly's pinch hitting crew getting a lot of mileage out of their hits.
Knobloch is 0 for 2 with a sacrifice fly. Here's Jim Cotton.
But Timmy, based on what you just said, that pays off with all the at-bats that Tom Kelly has given those guys off the bench, because they led the American League in pinch hitting.
That was a big one by Chili Davis. Pena falls behind 2-0 to Chuck Knobloch. Things are very uneasy for these Atlanta fans. And the Twins already up 2 games to none. Have climbed back into a tie here in the 8th inning.
And psychologically, already the Atlanta Braves with Pena, he had 14 save opportunities. He hadn't blown one this year. This is his first blown save opportunity for the Atlanta Braves.
Comes back with a strike to Knobloch. They have 8,000 people up in the Metrodome watching the game. There's a live shot. And they're right back in this game, 4-4, 8th inning. Knobloch gets a hit. A 1-out single by Knobloch, his first of the night. And we're dealing with the big guys in the Minnesota batting order. Hrbek is 0 for 3, and in the 6th inning, with 2 men on, he sent Ron Gant to the center field wall to make the catch of a fly ball.
Tough situation for Bobby Cox. referring to Hrbek's picking Ron Gant up on Sunday night. But you can't bring the left-hander in right now to pitch to Hrbek, because if Herbie doesn't hit into a double play, then the left-hander's got to face Kirby Puckett, who's on deck.
Knobloch, a threat to steal, draws the throw. He stole 25 bases during the regular season.
Think of how Tom Kelly's batting order tonight has worked in his favor. This is the first time this year that Hrbek has hit in front of Puckett.
And there he is, batting in the number 3 spot against Pena. Up the middle and on through. This is a speedy infield. The runner goes for third and makes it. Knobloch never hesitated, and it's first and third, one out. Ball really shoots through here, Tim, doesn't it?
Yep. Especially if it's hit by Ken Hrbek. A lot of top spin on that ball. A lot of top spin. And just over Pena's head, right through the hole. And watch Chuck Knobloch. He does not stop. He just keeps right on going. No play on him at third.
And no one better that the Twins would rather have up than the man who's coming up. And Bobby Cox tries to figure out how to slow down this Twins Express.
And remember, Kirby Puckett hit into more double plays than any other player in the major leagues this year. 27 times during the regular season and once in the World Series.
Here comes Bobby Cox. What does he have in mind?
I think he's going to talk to the infielders. I don't think he's even thinking about taking Pena out of the game. He's out there to talk to the infielders right now to tell them where to play. You have Puckett and Mack coming up. Pena has been his savior, and he's out there to talk to the infielders and tell them what to do. He's talking to Pendleton right there. So I think the infield probably will play halfway. If they play halfway, that gives them a shot at the double play, or if the ball's not hit sharply, they have a chance to come home with the ball to get Knobloch. I would imagine that's what Cox told Pena.
This is what Kirby Puckett did in the 7th inning. First pitch. That made the score 4-2. And an error and a home run in the 8th inning here. Home run by Chili Davis, 4-4. After an out, a hit by Knobloch and a hit by Hrbek. And Puckett back up there. Missed, ball one. If Atlanta loses, they'll be down 3-0 to the Twins, who are doing a lot of things right. One ball, one strike. Puckett would like at least a fly ball to snap this time.
Said Bobby Cox was going to go out there and tell the infield how to play. You see Ron Gardenhauer flashing signs. I don't think anything's going to be on, not with Kirby Puckett hitting. But the infield is in double play depth. The middle infielders are not in. They're back.
First and third, one out. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Ron Gardenhauer, the third base coach.
See him clapping his left hand. That's about it. There's nothing on right here. Swing the bat, Kirby. That's the sign.
What'll it be? Will Puckett snap the tie? Can Pena get the strikeout or the double play? First and third, one out.
Changeup was shaken off, and now he's going to go to the slider.
In the dirt, and Olson saved a run. What a play that was by the Atlanta catcher. A 2-2 count.
Boy, that was a terrific play by Greg Olson. You could see Pena shaking off the changeup. He shook off the fastball, and he wanted the slider. 3 for the slider, and Olson makes a terrific save.
Pena threw a wild pitch like that in the Pittsburgh series that darn near cost Atlanta.
Slider again.
Got him. Big strikeout, 2 out.
He not only got him, he got me too. That was not a slider. That was a fastball. A riding fastball inside to Kirby Puckett. And it gets him a big strikeout, and now Atlanta hoping the momentum goes back to them.
On another good hitter coming up for the Twins. First and third, 2 out for Shane Mack. Pena in relief of Avery. Ball 1. 3 of the Minnesota runs charged to Steve Avery. And the 4th to Pena, who served up the home run to Chili Davis. Shane Mack is 0 for 10 in this series. One ball, 1 strike. Chili Davis did his damage. Tied the game here in the 8th inning with a pinch home run. Shane Mack wants to do his damage. Pena struggling to get out of the 8th. He's behind on the count, 2-1. That's the picture. With Knobloch at third and Hrbek at first. Two and two. And Tim, I wonder if the Twins might try to steal a run.
Oh, no, I don't think so. Not with Hrbek on at first base. I mean, you would have to go into the assumption that if that were the case, they would have done it before now.
So it's a battle between Pena and Shane Mack. Crowd trying to get back into it here in Atlanta. Runner gone. And a foul to the screen.
You were right, Jack. They did exactly that. They sent the runner, Ken Hrbek. And then if you're a catcher, you have to decide whether to throw through or not. Count 1 and 2 still to Shane Mack.
Looked like the Braves infielders were not going to cover.
It did, didn't it? Second baseman and shortstop held their positions. Should they do it again then?
2 on, 2 out, 2 balls, 2 strikes, and it stays the same as Hrbek was going again. Tom Kelly and his club have crawled back into this one. Gardner gives the signs.
Well, if Hrbek has run twice in a row, it would make sense for Olson to pitch out and have a guy cover and then nail Hrbek at second. Of course, if he doesn't run, it counts 2 and 2, but you do have a free pitch here. Fastball inside.
Hrbek running again, and it struck him out. Atlanta goes into the home half of the 8th inning, tied 4-4. 2 left for the Twins. Davis home run tied it. Well, the Braves are in a precarious position, batting in the bottom of the 8th, tied with the Twins, 4-4. The new pitcher for Minnesota, their 5th of the night, is Carl Willis, who was terrific against Toronto in postseason play. The new right fielder, and batting in the number 9 spot is Jarvis Brown. And so the pitcher, Willis, will bat where Shane Mack had been. That's in the number 5 spot. Shane Mack 0 for 4 and 0 for 11 in the series. And the pinch hitter, Brian Harper, is the catcher. So it's a new battery for the Twins, who scored 2 in the top of this 8th inning to tie. And Sid Bream leads it off, and that's ball 1.
That is the chant that you may have heard in the National League Championship Series. Along with the chop, it is Sid, Sid.
Bream has lined out to first, doubled and walked. and leads it off in the home 8th. Carl Willis used to be in the National League with the Cincinnati club. Ball 2.
You mentioned, Jack, that Atlanta's in a precarious situation, and that is true if you compare them with how they went into the top of the 8th with a 2-run lead. But a home club hitting in a tie ball game in the late innings, a decided advantage. Twins have to have 6 outs to keep them from scoring a run, and Atlanta has 3 unless it goes to extra innings.
That's low to Sid Green. Green gets a big swing at the ball, but he usually controls the strike zone very well.
Good low ball hitter. But he is in an advantageous hitting position right here. 3-1 the count.
He pops it into left center field. And Puckett wants it and has it. And here is Jim Kaat.
Well, Kirby Puckett had a key at bat in the top of this inning, and let's take a look at the CBS inside pitch and see how Pena went after it. Outside for a ball. Now a couple of strikes. Now a pitcher goes away to get a hitter out inside. The slider away, back with the high fastball inside to polish him off. There's a look at it at about 88 miles an hour. Good sequence.
Olson is up. Strike 1 to him.
The key play in that sequence that Jim was talking about, the play by Greg Olson catching that slider out of the strike zone. That prevented a run.
Certainly did. Olson, a foul tip, strike 2. Olson has walked twice and he's 0 for 1. Twins not only tied it in the top of the 8th, but they had first and third and only 1 out and failed to score. Aerial shots tonight from the Spirit of Akron, brought to you by Goodyear Tires and your local Goodyear retailer. Still 0-2 on Greg Olson. Both bullpens quiet at the moment. Speaking of bullpen, these Twins relievers have been terrific. Willis appeared in 2 games, gave no runs against Toronto. Oh, what a play. What a play by Leyes to take a hit away from Olson. 2 out.
Big time play right there. Scott Leyes played throughout the minor leagues as a shortstop. This spring, Mike Pagliarulo having all sorts of problems. They moved Leyes to third base the last 5 games of spring training, and that is a shortstop's move that he just put on that play. Great range, and here it is again. Boy, that is a brilliant play by Scott Leyes.
That was terrific. Got Olson by plenty for the second out, and Lemke fouls 1 out of play. Mark Lemke has a hit, 1 for 3. He helped Atlanta score the tying run in the second inning. Jeff Blauser tossing ball into glove. And Lemke pops it up for Leyes. That catch sends us into the 9th inning tied. Minnesota 4, Atlanta 4.
See Carl Willis on the bench. A pitcher cannot bring his bare hand to his mouth on the mound, but watch what Willis does. That's a strange movement, isn't it, Jim Kaat?
Yeah, kind of like another North Carolinian, Gaylord Perry. He's got a few of those movements. He has been questioned by Cito Gaston, but never warned by an umpire.
Well, maybe it's just a sinus condition. Here we are into the 9th inning of a 4-4 game. And we have a pinch hitter, Mike Pagliarulo, leading it off and batting for Scott Leyes. 4-4 in the 9th. Alejandro Pena, who pitched the 8th, tries to send it tied into the bottom of the 9th. Strike 2 to the pinch hitter. With Gagne to follow, and then Harper. We're at Fulton County Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia. 4-4 game, top of the ninth. Pagliarulo leading it off, 1-2. This batter hit a timely home run in the American League Championship Series. That's going to go out of play.
That was in game 3, 10th inning against Mike Timlin with a count 1 ball and no strikes. A 2-2 game, and here's what Pagliarulo did. Twins won that game. They won the next day to win 4 out of 5 from Toronto.
Here they are trying to make it 3 games to none against Atlanta. 1-2 to the hitter, and it stays that way.
Keep in mind that the Minnesota Twins have never won a World Series road game. They have lost 6 in a row, 3 in 1965 and 3 in 1987.
Pena gets it. That's 3 strikeouts in a row for Pena.
That was the changeup. And if you remember that dramatic game, Game 6, when Pena came in to face Andy Van Slyke of the Pirates, Bobby Cox had asked him to throw more changeups, and you could see the fingers coming off the ball. That's the palm ball of Alejandro Pena. When the fingers come up, the ball slows down, and that's what got Pagliarulo there.
For the first out in the 9th inning, bringing Greg Gagne to the plate. Gagne is 0 for 3 and 2 out of 9. One ball, 1 strike.
We mentioned the 6 in a row in Minnesota. You have to go all the way back to October 7th, 1925, when this franchise won their last road game. Walter Johnson won it over Pittsburgh, and since that time they've lost 11 in a row, including the 6 at Minnesota.
Gagne hits it into right. Justice camps under it. 2 out.
Minnesota moving from our nation's capital in 1961, so this is the 30th year that the original Senators have been in Minneapolis. Prior to that, the only Minneapolis-Washington connection was Hubert Humphrey.
Right. And prior to that Major League franchise, Minnesota used to be in AAA and play at old Nicollet Park. And Willie Mays broke in. Harper, as the batter, reached on an error and scored on Chili Davis' home run in the 8th. That ball will be chased by Justice. Can't get there. Looking ahead to the bottom of the 9th inning. It's the number 8 hitter due up for Bobby Cox. And then Pena and Keith Mitchell with Lonnie Smith out of the game. And he's talking to Tommy Gregg, who probably will be a pinch hitter. And there's Tom Kelly. 2 out in the 9th. One ball, 2 strikes. The crowd thought they had him struck out. Up the middle, and it shoots on through. Fast infield here, and Harper's on base. Boy, he's a good 2-strike hitter.
That's where that contact part of his game comes in handy. He is a tough guy to strike out. He puts the ball in play. This is a similar hit that Ken Hrbek got in the 8th inning. A high chopper that scoots on through. A lot of top spin.
Now due up was Jarvis Brown. But they call him back toward the bench. And it's going to be Randy Bush. He will bat for Brown. I just happened to watch Bush for a period of time during batting practice, and he didn't have any trouble pumping him out of here. He'll bat in the 9th with a runner at first and 2 out. Twins have been very successful with their pinch hitters this evening, and here comes another. First at bat for Bush in this series. That's the 4th hit in less than 2 innings against Pena. Base hit by Harper. Speaking of Harper, Whitey Herzog was quoted recently as saying that was the biggest mistake that he's ever made running a ball club, was turning Harper loose. Outfield deep to the right for Bush. And there's a strike. Let's go down to Jim Kaat.
Yeah, Tom Kelly, using his general philosophy with his pinch hitters, he'll use Larkin to lead off an inning. He'll use Bush, who led the American League in pinch hits. In this situation, still has Paul Sorrento, who's their best long ball threat, on the bench. He'd use him with nobody on base.
You're right, Jim. He had 13 pinch hits to lead the American League this year. Bush fouls it away, and that's strike 2. And the crowd wants this visitor's 9th to come to a screeching halt. Atlanta's been out hit 7-5 in this game. And 2.
The Twins have used 8 players in the 9th position tonight. 8. 4 pinch hitters. Actually, Jarvis Brown entering the game in defense. So 3 pinch hitters, 1 defensive player, and 4 pitchers.
In the dirt, and it gets away, and there goes the lead run down to second with 2 out. A wild pitch. Olson couldn't save it this time. Harper is perched at second. And Olson chats with him.
Catchers, when the ball's in the dirt, they try to keep the ball centered and out in front of them. As you see, that ball wasn't centered by Olson. It hit his left leg and bounces off toward third.
Well, Randy Bush could do big damage now from Minnesota. Lead run at second, 2 out, 2-2 the count. 9th inning, 4-4 game. Four strikeouts for Pena. 1 left for the Twins. They've left 5. We go to the bottom of the 9th, and we're tied at 4. Well, are we headed for extra innings? It's the bottom of the 9th. Minnesota's out hit Atlanta 8-5. And Mike Pagliarulo, pinch hit, takes over at third base. And another pinch hitter, Randy Bush, becomes the third right fielder of the night for the Twins. There's Chili Davis. He popped the home run following an error in the 8th inning against Alejandro Pena. Remember, Atlanta was in pretty good control in this game. Took a 4-1 lead into the 8th inning. An error by Pendleton. Home run by Davis. And a big threat went down the tubes for the Twins, and then they left a runner at second base in the ninth, and Belliard will lead it off. And we're going to have a pinch hitter for Pena. Working his second inning for the Twins is Carl Willis. And he misses with the first one to Belliard, who's 1 for 3 with an RBI. There's Tommy Gregg. He will bat for Pena. There's ball 2 as Belliard can be tough to pitch to, Tim.
Small strike zone, and you remember the 2-strike bunt that he had the other night in Minneapolis. And because of that, Pagliarulo in at third base, and even if Belliard gets 2 strikes on him, I would imagine he'll stay in.
Strike 1, 2, and 1. Bottom of the ninth, 4-4. Minnesota won game 1, 5-2, then 3-2. That's ball 3. Willis had a 1-2-3-8. He walks the leadoff hitter in the ninth. And that's going to change the pinch hitter.
Yeah, Tommy Gregg, the #1 left-handed pinch hitter, and Bobby Cox has changed his mind. He does not want a pinch hitter up there. He wants a pinch bunter.
So he is going to go with the left-handed hitting Jeff Treadway. Treadway for Pena.
This game is tied because of a 2-run homer in the 7th by pinch hitter Chili Davis. Here it is. That made it 4-4, and that's where we are.
That's not Mickey Mouse. Those are the Atlanta Rally Caps. They call it the Shark. Going for the kill. And a simple run here would kill the Twins. Put the Braves right back in the thick of things. Look where Pagliarulo is playing at third base as Treadway is up there. It's going to be very, very difficult for him to get it down. He bunts in the air. And the play to first. Boy, he was lucky with that one. And good base running by Belliard.
Outstanding base running by Rafael Belliard. You don't understand what a precarious position that a runner is when the ball is put in the air. This is outstanding base running by Belliard. He was going. He thought because Hrbek was holding him on, he gauged the distance correctly. He realized that Hrbek didn't have a chance for this ball. He stopped momentarily, but by taking off, there again we're talking about instincts, fine instincts by Belliard.
And now the batter is Keith Mitchell. Ball 1 to him. A base is open for Carl Willis, who's in big trouble. This is the first at bat in the series for Keith Mitchell. We talked about the fact that little guys have been doing a lot of harm in this series. 1-1.
They have a little potential winner on second base.
That's Belliard. He's there with 1 out, and he's able to get a big lead. Keith Mitchell batting for the first time this evening. Mitchell's in the hole, 1-2. The left-hander Guthrie is warming up. Mark Guthrie for the Twins. And for Tom Kelly. Into left center field. Well hit, but Puckett is there. 2 out. And the runner stays at second base.
It's not a grievous mistake, but what you want to do on a situation like that, or in a situation like that, is go a third of the way to third. If the outfielder makes the catch, then you have time to go back to second and tag up and go to third. If you go halfway, you're too far to get back. If the ball drops, then you're in a position to score. If you go right back to tag up and the ball drops, you may have a tough time scoring from second base. Belliard is too far off. You see, he's halfway, not a third of the way, and by the time he gets back to second, the throw's already in.
Well, who are they going to pitch to? Not Pendleton. They're going to walk Pendleton and pitch to go. He almost threw it away. They're going to walk Pendleton and pitch to Gant with 2 out here in the bottom of the 9th inning. There's Ron Gant. Hitless on the night, 0 for 4. Pendleton had been 0 for 3 with a walk, but they're putting him on. There's Scott Leyes. He was one of the heroes in Game 2, and his home run won the game. Well, Atlanta hasn't had a hit since the 5th inning.
That graphic you just saw, by the way, game-winning RBI, that is not an official stat anymore. It went out 2 years ago. But going on the same basis of what we used to go by in baseball, Ron Gant did lead the majors with those 22 game-winning RBIs, even though it's no longer an official number.
2 on, 2 out for Ron Gant. Foul ball. He turns on almost every pitch.
Infielders are reminded, and they remind themselves, and Tom Kelly reminds them, to knock the ball down if you don't have a chance to catch it and make a play. That way you prevent the winning run from scoring.
There is a ton of hitting room up the middle. Gagne playing in the hole. It's short. 2 on, 2 out, 4-4, bottom of the 9th. Right at Gagne. He was right in the proper spot, and that sends us into the 10th inning. The positioning of Gagne was perfect. Atlanta leaves 2. They left 8. We go into the 10th inning, 4-4. Atlanta hasn't had a hit since the 5th inning, and we're tied 4-4 going into the 10th. And it's the top of the order for the Twins, Gladden, Knobloch, and Herbeck. And a new pitcher, the 3rd of the night for the Braves, is Mike Stanton. His 2nd World Series appearance, had 1 perfect inning previously. Twins tied it in the 8th, and here we are in the 10th. Really looked, Tim, like the Braves were in good shape with Avery pitching and a 4-2 lead into the 8th inning.
There were until the Chili Davis home run off Pena. This, of course, an extra inning game, and the last extra inning game last year, Game 2 of the World Series in Cincinnati with Joe Oliver batting.
That ball is fair. Cincinnati's ahead, 2 games to none. Little Billy Bates across the plate on that Joe Oliver hit. Here is the top of the order, represented by Dan Gladden. Had a triple in the 1st, scored a run, a tainted base hit. He's 1 for 4. Darnier hit 1 out in the 6th inning. Standon's first pitch is a strike. Gladden, Knobloch, and Herbeck. That one missed. Stanton, one of the many left-handed pitchers on this Atlanta staff. Gladden with 2 on in the 6th. Sent the left fielder to the wall. And a hit starts the 10th inning. Gladden's second hit of the night. And we'll see how the Twins play it with Knobloch. If they bunt, they'll have Hrbek and Puckett coming up.
They've got a lot of ways to go. They can steal Gladden. Of course, you have the left-hander Mike Stanton out there who has a good move to first base. You have Chuck Knobloch, who's a good bunter. You can bunt the straight sacrifice and take your chances with Ken Hrbek. Stanton is very, very difficult on left-handed batters, but you do have Puckett in the hole. So with all of those options, what's Ron Gardenhire, the third base coach, going to do? Getting his signs from Tom Kelly.
The leadoff base hit is the 9th of the night for the Twins. Knobloch has a sacrifice fly, and he's 1 for 3. There's Gladden. He's a good base runner. And Sid Bream is holding against the runner and looking for the bunt. There's a strike as Knobloch showed it but didn't bunt.
You saw Chuck Knobloch tying the all-time record for rookies in postseason play with 11 hits.
Well, Atlanta put their leadoff man on in the bottom of the 9th. Didn't get him around. Now the 10th starts with a base hit. And to the second baseman. Safe at second, out at first. Lemke says, well, he doesn't argue very vehemently about that. There's Gladden with his speed getting past Lemke.
No, I don't think he tagged him. I think it was a good call. Here's Gladden, and watch how quickly Gladden gets down to second base. He sees Lemke make the catch, and now the attempted tag, he misses it. No, that's a clear miss. No, because he comes back and tags the bag. That's a good call by second base umpire Rick Reed. And great base running by Gladden.
Boy, wasn't that close? Almost a double play to bail the Braves out of it for the moment. And Hrbek is up. He bails, and that's a strike.
So you as the runner, you have to keep your eye on the ball, but as importantly, the second baseman who's going to catch the ball. Gladden did both very well. An excellent piece of base running by Gladden.
Hrbek could put the Twins on top. They haven't led since the first inning. That's in, strike 2. Hrbek batting in the number 3 spot this evening.
If they get Hrbek out, they're going to walk Puckett because remember, Carl Willis is batting 5th. He's the pitcher. So this is a big, big out right here.
Runner at second, 1 gone, 10th inning. Oh and 2, 0 and 3.
Fastball on the inside part right there. It looked like Hrbek was looking for the slider. He got the heater. And now clearly they will walk Kirby Puckett.
They're going to put him on. He will join Gladden on base. And this will be the first walk given to the Twins tonight to go with their 9 base hits.
And the Twins running out of players. Al Newman represents the 20th player used tonight by Minnesota. World Series record is 21. And if they make a pitching change, he will be the 21st player, and that will tie the World Series record. Actually, Al Newman was on deck, and now they have switched to Sorrento. Coming back to Sorrento.
Virimani Guandabella. Paul Sorrento is going to come up now and pinch hit with 2 on, 2 out. Against Stanton.
So Tom Kelly sent Al Newman up there, and now he goes with Paul Sorrento. A good fastball hitter. As a matter of fact, the Twins had an option of putting either Pedro Munoz or Paul Sorrento on the postseason roster. They opted for Sorrento because he handles the fastballs very well. We'll see.
Gladden on at second base. He started the inning with a base hit. There he is. And then they walk Puckett. And there are 2 out. And Sorrento could be the Twins' hero here in the 10th. Strike to him. 4-4 the score. There are the runners. Twins need a 2-out hit. Strike 2. Minnesota has left 5. Ball on 1 and 2.
Funny, Paul Sorrento attended Florida State University, home of the Florida State Seminoles. That's where the tomahawk chop started, and now he's hitting, and he's got the tomahawk chop against him.
He hasn't batted against left-handed pitchers very often in the big leagues. And down he goes. Second strikeout in the inning for Stanton. The Twins have left 7, and Atlanta comes to bat in the bottom of the 10th inning. We're all knotted in the bottom of the 10th inning, 4-4, and here's what has transpired. A triple by Gladden, sacrifice fly ball by Knobloch, an RBI single in the second inning by Belliard. Justice home run snapped the tie. Home run by Lonnie Smith. Bases loaded walk made it 4-1 going into the 8th inning. An error and then a home run. Or first of all, Puckett's home run made it 4-2. Then in the 8th inning, the error and the home run by the pinch hitter, Chili Davis. And there's been no scoring since. The new pitcher is Mark Guthrie.
I think when you talk about the game being knotted, I think that is quite appropriate because there are a few knots and a few stomachs in this ballpark. Mark Guthrie, the 21st player used by the Twins. Remember, they only have 25 men on the roster. So the only players left for Minnesota, Aguilera, Newman, and then 2 starters, Tapani and Morris. Mark Guthrie facing Justice and Grieve, and Guthrie has a tendency to hang breaking balls. So look for him to start Justice off with a fastball.
And he swings and hits it fair into left field. And now it goes foul, and Gladden couldn't stay with it. Boy, that ball really moved. It was fair by about 30 feet, and then just blew away from Danny Gladden.
That was strange. He looked like he had control of it. Watch how he slows down, controls speed, and then the ball just takes off for some reason.
He missed it by 2 feet.
Yeah.
That was really strange.
David with new life.
Justice has reached on an error and hit a home run. 1 out of 4, and now he's backed up 0-2. Mark Guthrie is the 6th pitcher of the evening for the Twins. Tying a World Series record with 21 players. Erickson, West, Leach, Bedrosian, Willis, and now Guthrie. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Not the only record tonight. Think of the formidable task ahead of Atlanta. This Minnesota Twins bullpen does not give up any runs. They've gone 30 2/3 consecutive innings without any earned runs scored against them. And that's a record.
And Justice hits it to short left for Gladden. And there is 1 out here in the 10th inning. The batter is due to be Sid Green. But we're going to have a pinch hitter. Bobby Cox sends up Brian Hunter. Well, here's a fellow who hit a dozen home runs during the year and hit a big one in the clincher against Pittsburgh. Guthrie gets ahead of him. Starting to get the impression that the Minnesota bullpen's pretty good, and they still have Aguilera out there.
That's right. He's the only one left, however.
Hunter to be followed by Olson. 1 ball, 1 strike. Two and one. Atlanta put their leadoff man on base in the 9th. Moved him down to second. Couldn't score. Half swing. This is going to be close if it stays fair, but nothing doing. Foul ball 2-2.
Well,
2 balls, 2 strikes.
That ball did a dogleg left in a hurry.
This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of Major League Baseball. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of Major League Baseball. All 4 Atlanta runs. Charge to the starter, Scott Erickson, but his mates have taken him off the hook. Hunter back to the pitcher for the 2nd out. The way they were playing Hunter, had that ball gotten past the pitcher at all, there would have been no play. Harper goes out with a reminder about how to pitch to Greg Olson.
Nunn is not a player. He's not a left-handed hitter or a right-handed hitter. Newman is a switch hitter.
Olson with 2 out. Ball 1. Olson hit 6 home runs during the regular season. Chased a bad ball, and it's 1-1.
Maybe a ways away. But one thing to keep in mind, if Rick Aguilera gets into this game, he's probably the best hitting pitcher on either club. Rick Aguilera had 3 home runs in 1 year once for the New York Mets.
Olson took a strike and he's in the hole. Minnesota pitchers don't pitch around anybody, do they? They're coming after Olson with 2 out. 2-2. Twins are leading 2 games to none, and we're tied 4-4 in the bottom of the 10th with 2 out. And a hit into left center. Puckett playing deep. Olson strike. He is saved.
See that stuff about outfielders playing deep, it has to be modified. You can't play so deep that if the ball is hit almost straight away that you have no chance, that it's too long a throw. Puckett over several steps and he was so deep that his throw is so long that Olson has a double. You want to play deep, but not too deep to where when you get a ball, it's too long a throw. Olson in there with a double.
And it puts it up to Mark Lemke with 2 out. Ball 1. Belliard follows him in the batting order, and they have a base open. So Lemke might have to go searching for something to hit.
I think it boils down to you want to pitch to Lemke or Belliard.
Winning run at second, 2 out. And Guthrie missed with a breaking pitch, ball 2. They do have a base open.
Yeah, I would opt. This is a dangerous situation, though, Jack. You don't take any chances trying to pitch around hitters in game-winning situations. If he gets a hit, the game's over.
That's ball 3. And with Belliard hitting next, even Lemke might be swinging on 3-0.
Maybe. Because remember, we told you about a tough time that Belliard has in scoring runners from second base. Even though he's done that once tonight.
He was taking all the way, and it's 3-1. We've emphasized in this postseason how the little guys come to the fore so often. Lemke has a chance with 2 out. Guthrie trying to send it into the 11th. And it's going to be up to Belliard. But they're going to call him back. First walk by Guthrie. Seven walks given to Atlanta tonight. There's the chief executive of the Braves, President Stan Kasten.
Casting his eyes elsewhere.
Behind the left field wall, pacing, worrying, trying to get a win in this World Series.
Well, that's what Bobby Cox is doing too, Jack. Jeff Blauser is not nearly as good a fielder as Belliard. Blauser's had problems throwing, has a bad right elbow. Bobby Cox is going for the win right now. But if they don't win it now, they are going to be weakened defensively considerably.
2 on, 2 out for Blauser. The Braves have left 8. And Guthrie gets ahead on the count. Blauser is 0 for 2 with a bat. There's Olson on at second. He's the winning run. Harper goes out to talk with Guthrie. Yeah, Blauser could be an Atlanta hero. It takes a hit. 2 on, 2 out, 4-4, bottom of the 10th. One ball, 1 strike. The pitcher due up next, Stanton. Guthrie has a base open, albeit third base. Out of play, 2-2.
Olson's double with 2 outs and nobody on. You see Kirby Puckett playing deep to prevent the double, and because he was deep, he caused the double.
Now 2 on, 2 out, 2 balls, 2 strikes. Second baseman has it. We're going into the 11th inning. The Braves leave 2. They have left 10. 11th inning coming up. We're still tied at 4.
This has been the longest World Series game since October the 11th, 1977, when the Yankees played the Dodgers. You may remember the Yankees won the World Championship that year, and in that series they had a 12-inning game versus the Dodgers. What, you may ask, is the longest World Series game ever? Well, back on October 9th, 1916, Babe Ruth, 21 years old, was the winning pitcher for the Boston Red Sox in the longest World Series game, and that game 14 innings versus the Brooklyn Dodgers. And then about 6 years later, Babe Ruth went on to become an outfielder. He did all right.
I'll say. Well, what the heck do you expect from this kid? 1 o'clock in the morning. We have a new shortstop. It's Jeff Blauser, and remember Tim mentioned that he is not as good as Belliard, and Brian Hunter takes over at first, and he's done well platooning with Sid Bream at that position.
The focus right now is on Jeff Blauser. He has made 2 throws in postseason, and both have been bad. Only 1 error, but both throws have been bad, and his right elbow is annoying him. He is really having a problem throwing the ball. So the focus is on Blauser right now.
And this is Al Newman at the plate to lead it off.
And that breaks a record for the most players employed by one team in a single World Series game.
And a pop-up to start the 11th inning. Lemke gets under it. 1 out. Newman batting for Pagliarulo. Pops out to start the 11th.
Tom Kelly is not taking his strokes into the clubhouse. What is that, his mulligan? He's not going to go into the 19th hole with his mulligan, using 22 players tonight.
He's in such good shape, Tim, leading 2 games to none,
Yeah.
that he can do almost anything. Here is Gagne. Gagne is 0 for 4 and 2 for 10. And a threat as Stanton gets a strike in there. Mike Stanton working his 2nd inning. He's the 3rd Atlanta pitcher. And he's due to lead off in the bottom of this inning. He gave up a single and an intentional walk in the 10th. And that's strike 2. The longest game I've ever broadcast, Tim, was that Cardinal Met game, 25 innings.
Longest one I ever broadcast was in this ballpark. The Atlanta Braves and the New York Mets, July 4th and 5th, 1985.
That's the 2nd out as Stanton gets Gagne. 3rd strikeout for the Atlanta hurler. Well, happy Wednesday, everyone. We're at Atlanta's Fulton County Stadium, deep in the heart of Dixie, and we're 4-4 in the top of the 11th inning. Tim McCarver and Jack Buck. Minnesota tied the game in the 8th. And Kirby Puckett looks on as Brian Harper bats with 2 out. Ball 1. Jim Koch down at the field level. Harper has been on base twice. He pops it up. That sends us to the home half of the 11th inning. The pitcher due to lead it off for the Braves. Twins have out hit Atlanta 9-6. Each team has made an error. The error by the Braves really hurt. It preceded a home run by Chili Davis that tied the game in the 8th. Al Newman, who used to play in this park as a member of the Montreal Expos, takes over at third base. He's the third player at that position tonight. That's the only change for the Twins. And they still have Mark Guthrie on the hill, their 6th pitcher of the night. He worked the 10th, got into 2-out trouble when Olson doubled. They gave a walk to Lemke. And then they got the pinch hitter Blousy. I'll say this for Tom Kelly. He's shooting the works here tonight, trying to go 3 games up.
The only players remaining for the Minnesota Twins, Rick Aguilera, Jack Morris, and Kevin Tapani. Now, Tapani worked on Sunday night. Morris will work tomorrow night. Rick Aguilera, really the only able body, and Tom Kelly probably hoping now that nobody goes down on him, because if something happens, if someone gets injured, there's Jack Morris charting for tomorrow night. Tonight's game, that's right. Fell into one.
First pitch is a ball to Francisco Cabrera.
But if someone gets hurt, Rick Aguilera will be a position player.
Cabrera pinch hitting and had a big swing but fouled it back, and it's 1-1.
Sprinkled among the many heroics of the Atlanta Braves season, back on October 21st, a 3-run homer by Francisco Cabrera to tie the game off Rob Dibble.
And he lines it to Knobloch for the first out in the 11th inning.
His first postseason at bat, he hits a scorcher towards second, and Knobloch was there, but that was a 3-run homer that tied it. And Atlanta, here it is one more time, Rob Dibble on the mound, 9th inning. Atlanta went on to win it in 13 innings.
That was a memorable game for Atlanta, as was the Justice home run at Cincinnati. The batter now is Keith Mitchell. He's had 1 at bat and he's 0 for 1. Playing left field where Lonnie Smith started. Smith had a home run and was 1 for 4. And that's strike 2 to the rookie. One and 2. It was Erickson, then West, then Leach, Bedrosian, Willis. Guthrie came on in the 10th, working in the 11th. And he gets the second out of the inning. And his first strikeout.
Guthrie looks like a tough assignment. All arms and legs. He's 6'4", 196 pounds. Got that high leg kick, and often what you see is not what you get. You have a tendency to swing at his motion instead of the ball. Now you're the hitter. Look at the high leg kick. Now that gangly motion, it looked like a splitter there, and Mitchell is down on strikes.
Batter is Terry Pendleton. He has walked twice, 1 intentionally, and he's 0 for 3, and 2 out of 11 in the series. And in the hole, strike 1. Braves haven't scored since the 5th. And that's strike 2. Pendleton trying to get on base ahead of Ron Gant here with 2 out. This crowd's quiet, but they're still here, folks. 1 and 2. They're not walking out on this one. 4-4, 11th inning. past midnight here in Atlanta. And this one is yet to be determined. 2-2. Well, Guthrie's probably looking over the on-deck circle, taking a look at Gant and saying to himself, I better get this fella right now. Pendleton hits it to Herbeck, and down in order go the Braves in the 11th inning. 32 plus innings for the Minnesota relievers in postseason play, no earned runs. We're 4-4 and heading into the 12th inning. Well, is it tomorrow or later today? The Twins and the Braves in the 4th game, 8 o'clock Eastern time. And we invite you to join us here on CBS. Who in the heck is going to win this one? John Smoltz will take on Jack Morris. And there is Smoltz, and he might have a heavy load on his shoulders, and will have if Atlanta fails to pull this one out.
In the 7th inning, make that the 8th inning, an error by Terry Pendleton, and this led to the Chili Davis home run. That was when Brian Harper got on base on the error, and then the next pitch, Chili Davis off of Alejandro Pena to left field, his second 2-run homer in as many days, actually as many World Series games. He had one Sunday night. And that's where we are, tied at 4 here in the 12th.
And that's why we're here. That Davis home run in the 8th. Both teams have had scoring opportunities since then, but nothing doing. Minnesota has stranded 7. They send up Randy Bush. He struck out as a pinch hitter back in the 9th inning. This new pitcher is Mark Wohlers. It was Avery, Pena, Stanton, and now Wohlers. Atlanta hurlers have given up only 1 walk this evening, and that was an intentional pass. I mention that because Wohlers can throw hard, but the strike zone eludes him at times. And he's behind 2-0. Atlanta bullpen continues to warm. Clancy, the right-hander, down there. High in the air for Ron Gant. 1 out in the 12th. And Randy Bush is 0 for 2. Now the left-hander is Kent Mercker, joins Clancy in the bullpen. The number 3, 4, and 5 hitters will bat in the bottom of this 12th inning. Meanwhile, the top of the order, represented by Dan Gladden. He's had a single, a triple. The leadoff single in the 10th inning was wasted by the Twins. And back in the 7th, he narrowly missed a 3-run homer. There's Chili Davis. He's through for the night, and there is a ball to Gladden. Twins leading 2 games to none. They're still sitting pretty no matter what happens in this one, and if they happen to win it. There's ball 2. Here's Jim Cott.
Well, Tim was mentioning about John Smoltz hanging around in the starting pitchers. Now Jack Morris sitting over there with his sneakers on, but not John Smoltz. Just in case they need a pinch runner, he's ready, so he'll probably hang around for a little while.
You never know in a game like this. How far are we going to go? Gladden hits it hard to right for his 3rd hit of the evening. Gladden singles with 1 out here in the 12th. And the Twins have a good runner on base.
And a good base stealer on base. Dan Gladden in the last game of the playoffs, game 5, a big stolen base. Stealing second base and then scoring the go-ahead run, and then a single by Herbeck. And the Twins won it 8-5. in beating Toronto. So look for Gladden to run sometime during this count.
And the Twins would like to snap the tie here in the 12th inning and then get Aguilera on his feet in the bullpen. The batter Knobloch, he drove in a run with a fly ball in the first, and he has a hit, 1 for 4. A good hit and run combo up there.
But not a good pitcher to do it against, because Wohlers is not in the strike zone often. You see that stopwatch that Tom Kelly has. He times the throws of the pitcher to home and the catcher to second. And if it comes out to 3.25 seconds or below, he won't send the runner. If it's above that, however, he will send the runner.
Base hit by Gladden was his third and the 10th for the Twins. They about hit the Braves 10-6. Hunter holds against him. Double play ball. Whoa, right through Lemke. And it's first and third with only one out for the Twins. We told you about this lightning fast infield, and it hurt Lemke that time.
Yeah, that's a double play ball that gets you out of the inning, and it looked like what Lemke did. He looked up before he had the ball. Clearly an error. Watch him look up. You see, he's ready to flip that ball before he has control. That is a common error on a double play ball hit like that, because you try to get rid of it too quickly, and it could be a key error on Mark Lemke, and I think Bobby Cox is going to make a move now.
He has those pitchers in the bullpen whom we showed you earlier, Clancy and Merker.
He's got to go to Merker, I would think. And Rick Aguilera of the Twins is now up. Tom Kelly sniffing a lead here. Tell you, we talked earlier about Rick Aguilera and a batter. Wouldn't it be something for Rick Aguilera to pinch hit for Mark Guthrie, who is in the 5-hole now, remember. So if they get Herbeck, you might see a walk to Kirby Puckett to load the bases, even if runners are at first and third. Just thinking ahead. And Aguilera is an excellent hitter. He signed to play professional baseball as a shortstop. He was moved into the pitching spot, so everything determines how they get Herbeck. But if Merker can strike out Herbeck, they'll walk Kirby Puckett and get to either Aguilera or Guthrie.
Wohlers leaves, and Kent Merker, the left-hander, comes in to take on Kent Herbeck.
Twins and Braves tied here at 4. This game started with a ball that was misplayed in right field, and the most recent thing that happened, an error by Mark Lemke. As Jack Morris charting the game, he will be the starter tomorrow. The Minnesota Twins have used all of their regular players, and you can't look for Jack Morris. As Jim Cott said, he's got his sneakers on.
Well, Kent Merker is called upon to do good work, and Kent Herbeck is up trying to put the Twins on top. They haven't led since the first inning, and it's first and third with one out. Base hit by Gladden, an error by Lemke. Herbeck has one hit tonight, 1 for 5. 1 ball, 1 strike. Merker is usually tough on left-handed hitters. Lefties have hit only 194 against him. He's into the game as the 5th Atlanta pitcher. Avery, Pena, Stanton, Wohlers, and now Merker. Gladden's the runner at third, and across the way it's Knobloch. The runner going from first, and a foul as Herbeck falls in the hole, 1 and 2. We're playing behind Knobloch down there, and Knobloch, a very aggressive player. I'm not surprised he was running.
2 stolen bases in game 1. He was ready to stop too had Herbeck swung through that ball. Interesting play. If he steals second base, that certainly takes the double play out of order.
First and third, the runner going again. Strike three called, and Knobloch steals second. That's the second out of the inning. And Puckett is up, and Tim McCarver right smack on the money with regard to what's going to happen.
And Aguilera is going to be the pinch hitter. Here he comes in from the bullpen. What about this? Now, you know, this is unbelievable. He's going to be the 23rd player used. He signed as a shortstop. He had 2 home runs in 1986 for the Mets. He had 1 in 1987, but they haven't made a move yet. They're going to bring the right-hander Clancy in anyway to walk Puckett and then pitch to Rick Aguilera. And if Aguilera doesn't get a hit, now we're assuming all of this, if he doesn't get a hit, then he's in there for the duration unless Kevin Tapani, the starter Sunday, comes back. Unbelievable.
Happening here in Atlanta. Woo. We're in the top of the 12th. We're tied at 4. The new pitcher is Jim Clancy. He's the 6th of the night for the Braves, and let's go down to Jim Cott.
Well, Jack and Tim, you know, Smoltz and Morris might as well go to the bullpen warm-up. They're going to pitch a little later today anyway. What would an extra inning or two hurt? It's been done before in the old doubleheader days.
That's right. Be like a split doubleheader, huh, Kitty?
Exactly.
They are going to walk Puckett. The bases will be loaded with 2 out. Guthrie, the pitcher, is due to hit. The score is still tied. And Rick Aguilera gets a bat and starts to swing on the sideline. This crowd booed lustily when Bobby Cox went out and took Merker out of the game and brought Clancy in.
This is the first pitcher to pinch hit during the designated hitter era since 1973. That's when the DH came in. And Rick Aguilera is going to be a pinch hitter for the pitcher, Mark Guthrie. Now, the last pitcher to pinch hit in a World Series, Don Drysdale, Game 2, and who did he face? Kitty Cott. You kidding me? This is great. You remember that game, Kitty?
Oh, man, those are the days that pitchers look forward to those ABs. I remember it very well.
Guthrie, the pitcher who was just lifted, had never batted in professional baseball. Aguilera is up with the bases loaded and 2 out. There's Jim Cott. 25 years in the big leagues.
That's all.
And Hall of Fame numbers.
Yep, you got it.
Here comes Aguilera. This pitcher has a .203 lifetime batting average. A single, an error, and a walk have loaded them up. Jim Clancy has to get him out to keep it tied. Aguilera will try to put his club ahead and then pitch the bottom of the inning. Woo! Ball 1. Has Jim Clancy ever been in a tighter spot than this?
I'm sure Jim Clancy is telling himself, if you've ever stayed ahead, stay ahead of the pitcher as a pinch hitter. And he falls behind with the slider. Nice play by Olson.
Bases loaded, 2 out, 4-4 game, 12th inning. 1-1. Gladden, the lead runner at third base. A single, an error, and a walk have loaded them up. Braves should have been out of the inning long ago. Aguilera hits it into center field for Gant. We're still tied. 3 left for the Twins, who have stranded 10 and will send Rick Aguilera to the hill. It is terrific as we go into the bottom of the 12th inning. We're tied at 4 apiece. As we showed you, Ron Gant is going to lead it off. David Justice will follow. And then Brian Hunter, the number 3, 4, and 5 hitters. And if the Braves are going to win this one, they're going to have to beat a very good pitcher. Rick Aguilera follows Erickson, West, Leach, Bedrosian, Willis, and Guthrie to the mound. He's the 7th pitcher for the Twins. He got a pretty good at bat too, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He hit the ball hard, but it was right at him. And now Tom Kelly's problems are certainly mounting. He's used 23 players, and you can almost see it in his face. Look at him shaking his head. It looks like he's got an earpiece in. You can just imagine what he's thinking now. I mean, Rick Aguilera has only thrown 3 innings 3 times this year. That is max for him. You know, Kelly doesn't want him going that long, but if this game remains tied over the next several innings, they say baseball, one of the only team games without a clock. Well, it's imperative that if the Twins win it, they have to win it in a hurry to save, not only to win a ball game, but to save Aguilera's arm.
Wonder how long he could go. There's Smoltz and there's Morris. They'll hook up tonight. We're on the air at 8 o'clock Eastern time with Game 4. Morris is yawning. Aguilera tries to add to the string. The Minnesota relief pitchers have gone 32 and 2/3 consecutive innings without allowing an earned run in postseason play. West did his job. So did Leach. So did Bedrosian, Willis, Guthrie. And now Aguilera, who had 2 saves already in this series, is not in a save position, but he's in a win or lose situation.
And if you think we're trying to trick you with numbers, those 32 and 2/3, you might say, well, those are earned runs. How many unearned runs has the bullpen given up? The answer is 2. Let's go to Jim Cobb.
Jack and Tim, you know the one thing, and I know from being in the bullpen with a lot of great short relievers, Bruce Sutter, Goose Gossage, they do not like to come in to tie games psychologically. First of all, they're not used to it. They're used to holding leads, not coming in and holding ties. I don't know what it is, but I know they don't like it psychologically.
Ron Gant is 0 for 5. Lined out in the 7th, lined out in the 9th. And he flies it out into center field to Puckett, who trots to it and makes the catch for the first out in the home 12th inning. Gant in the 9th inning with 2 men on hit the daylights out of the ball right at the shortstop. Of course, there's been a lot of that in this game. So there goes 1 out. And David Justice is up. He hit that 4th inning home run to snap a 1-1 tie. Put the Braves on top. They led 4-2 in the 8th. And Davis hit the home run. Ball 1. So we've had home runs by Lonnie Smith and David Justice for Atlanta. Puckett a solo blast. And the 2-run homer by Chili Davis. 1 ball, 1 strike. Aguilera will throw you a little bit of everything, and he has some strong pitches.
Good fastball, a slider, and the splitter has really made him a premier reliever. He picked it up right before the trade that sent him to Minnesota in the Frank Viola deal.
Justice gets a hit with 1 out here in the 12th inning. Bobby Cox trying to manufacture a run. Herbeck will hold against Justice.
And I think that's exactly what the Braves have to do, Jack. I think they have to manufacture the run. They're not hitting the ball well. And I think what Bobby Cox needs to do right now is pick a situation where he can send the runner and hope Hunter finds a hole somewhere.
Sid Bream started at first base. Hunter came on. Pinch hit in the 10th, stayed in the game. He's 0 for 1.
What would that situation be? Well, possibly if Aguilera falls behind Hunter 1-0 or 2-0, they may send Justice.
Teams do run a lot against the Twins. Justice stole 8 bases during the regular season. He went extremely fast. He's over there with 1 out. Now the crowd comes back to life. Against Aguilera this year, opponents have stolen 7 bases without being caught. And we'll see if Justice is anxious to go. Ball 1 to Brian Hunter.
There's your 1-0 count. Minnesota's not going to pitch out. And I think the most surprising thing up to this time is that the Braves have not tried to run against Brian Harper, who does not have a good throwing arm. Good offensive player. But I think if the Braves are going to win and even win the World Series, I think they have to open things up. They've been too conservative on the bases.
Even though they undoubtedly would walk Hunter if Justice steals a base, and that would put it up to Olson.
I'm not talking about a steal. I'm talking about a hit and run. I don't think they have steal speed, but they have good bat control to hit and run.
Not going, and ball 2 to Hunter. 4 for the score, home half of the 12th. Jimmy Williams gives the signs. Justice is going, and a fly ball foul.
But Bobby Cox had in mind, he worked the count to 2-0, and if you can do it 2-0, you can do it 2-1. Probably thinking that no way Tom Kelly's going to pitch out here. All a manager can do is get a good pitch for his hitter to swing at, and he did for Brian Hunter. It may be on again. David Justice looking, Hunter looking.
Right fielder way off the line. They're kind of punching this hitter to center field. Harper looking into the dugout. Justice not going, and a high pop-up for who? Second baseman, Knobloch. 2 out. So the runner's still at first with 2 gone.
Brian Hunter just under it, and obviously frustrated.
Braves went down in order in the 11th. They left 2 men on in the 10th. They left 2 men on in the 9th. And a runner at first, 2 out here in the 12th. And it's up to Greg Olson. We'll see if they hit and run again with Justice and Olson.
You don't gain a lot with 2 outs. And one of the purposes of the hit and run is to move the runner to third, and you don't gain a lot here.
Aguilera gets ahead on the count.
Once again, the Minnesota outfield very deep to protect against the extra base hit. You want 2 hits to beat you, not 1.
At this point, each team has left 10. Olson hacking at it, finds himself with a strike 2 count. He has walked twice and doubled.
Each team has left 10 and no one has left early.
This is a marathon. We're in the 12th inning of the 3rd game of the series. Seventh pitcher of the night for the Twins is out on the hill. Runner going. Ball 1 and a stolen base, and the winning run's in scoring position. Now the Braves are thinking a little old hit will win it.
That's the first stolen base by the Atlanta Braves in this series. Brian Harper does not have a good throwing arm. It's to the third base side, and Justice has second stolen.
He's at second with 2 out here in the 12th. 1 ball, 2 strikes, the count to Olson. A base is open, so they don't have to make the pitches too good to Greg Olson. Game is 4 hours old. And it's 2-2. With a base open, they might rather take their chances with Lemke. Remember earlier we remarked that Olson has been a good 2-out hitter for Atlanta all season long, and particularly late in the year. Ball 3. 3-2. Kelly, a very impassive sort, or a very passive sort, I should say.
On the outside.
Ball 4 puts Olson on. That's the 8th walk given to Atlanta. There's Dave Justice with a potential winning run at second. Joined on base by Olson. And Mark Lemke, who almost was a GOAT in the top of this 12th, can be a hero in the bottom of the inning. He has walked and he has singled. And he popped out with 2 men on. Well, he drew the walk in the 10th inning. Aguilera gets ahead on the count.
And that was a pitch to Hammer, too.
I wonder what they're doing up there in the Metrodome. Crowd of about 8,000. The Twins can only win it in the 13th. Hitting room up the middle for Lemke. One ball, 1 strike. And Jeff Blauser, the shortstop, waits on deck. There he is. Lemke hits it into left field. Here comes Justice. Save! And Atlanta wins it.
Remember our theme yesterday? We said think small, because it seems like the little men have become the big men in this series. Leyes, Gagne, and now Lemke. The throw by Gladden. Too late. And the Braves win their first World Series game ever. That's a little man walking tall.
We're going to hear from Pat O'Brien. We'll return to Atlanta's Fulton County Stadium after this message and a word from your local station. 5-4-12, Atlanta wins it.
They are still celebrating in Atlanta, Georgia. It is now 14 minutes. They are still celebrating here as we all catch our breath in Atlanta, Georgia. It is 12:46 Eastern Time, and the Braves have won it, folks, in 12 innings. 5-4 over the Minnesota Twins. It was some baseball game tonight and this morning. And the Chevrolet player of the game, guess who? Mark Lemke of the Braves, and Chevrolet will donate $1,000 on his behalf to the Special Olympics. And among the cheering crowd and people who are still standing here, happy that the Braves have won their first World Series game, down there on the field is Jim Pott with a couple of happy guys, I would gather, Kitty.
Boy, you talk about a game exhilarating, I mean exciting, up and down, and I'm numb. Are you numb?
Completely. I still haven't figured out what happened yet. Maybe it'll sink in a little bit later up in the clubhouse.
I'll tell you what happened. You got a base hit to left field. Do you remember a bigger moment in your career?
No, that had been the biggest hit of my career right now up until this point, and boy, I'm just completely thrilled with it.
Get some rest and come back out, not tomorrow, but a little later today. And let me ask this guy, John Smoltz, you're pitching tomorrow. What are you still doing here? Why aren't you home getting your rest?
Well, I was watching Jack Morris. He hadn't left yet, but I was possibly going to be used. You never know in a game like this, and I didn't want to miss it.
You run out of chart. You run out of spaces on the chart after a while. You had to forget that and just watch the game.
Yeah, I had to turn the chart over a couple times and just trying different things with rallies, something. Do something to change your luck. And this team's relentless, and hopefully this will make my night a lot easier and we can tie it up tomorrow.
What does this do to your adrenaline and your emotions right now, sitting through a game like this that was unbelievable?
Well, it's a game that you think at one point you've got it, and then all of a sudden, they tie it up, and then there's a situation where you might lose it, and it's like a teeter-totter, and that's what we've been doing all year, but we seem to keep coming up with big hits, and like I said, Steve's done a great job, and this team has made it easier for me to sleep tonight.
We'll teeter-totter back here a little later today. John Smoltz and Jack Morris. Pat?
Well, I'll be back here a little later today. Tim McCarver mentioned, and we did mention, that it was the Braves' first win. The first World Series win since October 5th. What were you doing in 1958 when Warren Spahn shut out the Yankees 3-0? That finally does it for this Game 3 for all of us at CBS Sports. I'm Pat O'Brien saying good morning from Atlanta. Once again, our final score in 12 innings, the Atlanta Braves 5, the Minnesota Twins 4. And so the Atlanta Braves have cut it to 2-1.